The Still Loading podcast is brought to you by the wonderful people on Patreon. Amazing people like Gilmer, Parallax Puddles, Mike from the Old Switcheroo podcast, Pib Extra, Melissa S., Ryan Kern, Matt aka Stormageddon, Doug from the Nostalgia Marcanon podcast, Stephen P., Kevin from the Bit by Bit Foundation, and Mr. Biscuits have all been wonderful enough to support the show over there. So if you would also like to get your name read at the beginning of an episode, along with a bunch of other goodies, go over to patreon.com/stillloadingpod and check out everything it has to offer. On this episode of Still Loading, we play with all of our joysticks.
Fuck yes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the Still Loading podcast. I'm your host, Josh Koval, and today's episode, it is, despite what next week's episode is going to tell you, I had to rearrange a schedule. This is the first episode of 2026. Don't listen to what I say in the next episode. I was going to be weird to edit that out, so it's staying in, but this is the first episode of 2026, so welcome to the new year, everyone, and we are kicking off this year with a ranking episode. It's been a long time since I've done a ranking on this podcast. I think the last time I might have done it was Final Fantasy VII characters, maybe something else. I can't remember. It's been a long time, but joining me to help me rank, we're going to be ranking video game controllers. I should say that off the top. We're going to be ranking video game controllers, and we'll get into the specifics of the criteria and like which controllers we are ranking and this and that a little bit later. But before all that, let me introduce my guests for this episode. Returning guests. Both of them have been on the show numerous times, though it has been a little bit since both of them have been on. First off, joining me from the Retro Hangover podcast is Chris Coplien. Chris, how are you doing today?
Hello, Josh. Glad to be back on the Still Loading podcast. Happy to be here, and I'm ready to push all of the buttons.
All the buttons and play with all of our joysticks, just how we always do.
Well, you stole that, so
I did steal
I couldn't say it anymore.
For those who do not know, and if you're living under a rock and you're not listening to Retro Hangover, every episode Chris ends. The end of every Retro Hangover episode, Chris ends with some type of joystick pun. Very, very creative. You're very clever with them.
I actually have no idea. I think they're all pretty terrible.
I'm
glad you enjoy them.
I enjoy them quite a bit. There's no Dick Dragon, but I enjoy them quite a bit.
Yes.
Our second guest, though, it can't just be two people ranking controllers. There's going to be a third joining. Once again, another returning guest, my good buddy Mick, aka Mick Arcade. Mick, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I'm ready to waggle my joystick. My friend.
Yeah, here we go. We're getting the new year off. We're getting the new year. Well, we're getting the new year off, and we're starting it off right.
Oh boy, are we?
Yes, we are. Giggity.
Hey-o.
Man, I did not even intend for that to be that innuendo, but it went in my endo, and here we are.
Feels good.
Oh my god!
In your endo.
In your endo. So what we're doing, y'all, we are going to be ranking controllers. We're going to be ranking 19 controllers in total. The list for them is as follows, and we'll explain the reasons for just a little bit. We are ranking everything from the NES up to PS4/Switch era, and it's only going to be on main systems, mainly because there's a lot of controllers out there, and we would be here forever. Like 19 is already a crazy amount of things to rank. This episode's already going to run a long time, and I can't imagine having to do more. So the controllers we're going to rank are the original Nintendo, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, also the TurboGrafx, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Saturn, the N64, the PS1, the Dreamcast, the PS2, GameCube, original Xbox, PS3, Xbox 360, Wiimote with nunchuck, Wii U, gamepad, PS4, Xbox One, and then the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. The only other caveat to shout out is that for the Saturn, we are going off the original Japanese release. We're kind of basing our ranking off of the original Japanese release controller, as well. Same with the TurboGrafx, which was the PC Engine over in Japan. We were basing it off of that. And for the Xbox, we're going with the Duke, because as much as I'm gonna, it's not going to be part of the official ranking. I'm going to include where I would rank the modified Xbox, the redone Xbox controller that was a lot smaller and more like easily fitting in your hands. But we're going off the original release, which is the Duke. So that's just some stuff out of the way. Any other things that I missed, guys? Any other like caveats before we jump in?
PS3 is. We should have talked about this before.
Oh
is
yeah,
that the
I guess it'd be the
six-axis or
it'd
the
be the
dual
six
shock?
axis. It'd be
Okay.
because
That's important. That's very important.
that was like a big sticking point for, I don't know, when that console launched. I think the DualShock came out at the same time, right?
No, it was
it
like
came out
two
like
2 years after.
Yeah,
2
it
years
came
after
out
that. I
like
couldn't
at
remember.
least a year after.
Yeah, we're going to go with the 6-axis. Just it doesn't change my rating of it, but it's at least for me. But yeah. Now, before we get into the ranking, though, one final bit that I got to shout out. The inspiration for this episode is a book from Bitmap Books called Trigger Happy. It was a book that came out somewhat recently. It's by Christian Wank, and it's a visual celebration of video game controllers. Bitmap was nice enough to send all three of us digital review copies, and holy shit, it is a beefy book, and there is a lot there's easily, like, just looking at this, there's got to be at least 100 controllers in this.
Oh,
Maybe
I
not
mean,
that much. It's a lot, though. It's
no, I would say there's definitely 100 controllers in this. There's more than that.
It's crazy. They're put in perspective, listeners. The controllers start, like, when you're looking at the table of contents, the controllers start at page 16 and it goes up to page 203, and on average every 2 pages. There's a couple, some of the bigger ones got a 4-page spread, but for the most part, it's every 2 pages is another controller. So you're looking at easily over 100, just about. I shouldn't say easily, but there's a lot of controllers in this. Oh my god, actually, yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking even at like the main ones, and then there's even like super obscure ones like the Spectra. Oh my god, there's wireless. It goes on. There's over 300 episodes.
Don't be careful.
Pages.
Don't call the Spectrum obscure. Someone in Europe is going to be very mad with you.
Yes, I apologize to you and yours over in Europe. All of Europe, I apologize to. But no, there's over 100 controllers in this. There's no way we could be here to rank all of them, but there's so much in here. Do you guys have any thoughts on the book before we dive into the ranking? Just I didn't get as much of a chance to read it as much as I liked, but what I did read, I was just blown away by the photography, by the amount of like just how it had to take so long to compile all this.
I'll go ahead here. I think it's for people who love gaming, and I think that's people who listen to this, and definitely people on this episode. This is going to be a book that I find is a great nostalgia talking point. I've heard it described as a coffee table book, and I think that's the perfect description of this. I stole that from you, Josh, by the way. But it is definitely a coffee table book. It's the pictures that are just wonderfully shot and the brief description of the controllers. Is it all inclusive? No. I've realized there have been some controllers that I personally would have liked in there. But I also have to keep in mind that I think this book was made from a European perspective as well. So keep that in mind. So you're going to get a vast wealth of like microcomputer controllers. So there's a lot of information in here that gamers of all walks of life will appreciate. And you kind of get a cultural perspective when you remember that this was made by an audience from another part of the world if you're in the United States. So it's not Amerocentric, which is generally what we get in our gaming media consumption. So it's definitely something I appreciated. So thanks for the review copy, and thanks for, asking me to be on this episode so I can get that, Josh. I appreciate it. And great book. book.
It was no problem. When I got contact about this one, I love what Bitmap Books does. But like the controller thing, I'm like, this felt like the perfect excuse to do a controller ranking episode. So yeah, and this was, using this as a reference guide to like if there's controllers on our list here that I have not personally played, I use the book as a reference guide to be like, oh shit, like how would I, like, knowing how this looks and based off my previous knowledge of gaming and whatnot, like how would this handle? And it was cool to read. Mick, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, the book is, as Chris said, the book is put together really, really well. And for me, it was just very cool because, not only are you sort of, you looking through the various pages, it's sort of going on like a time travel journey in a way, because you have the memories associated with the different controllers, playing them throughout your life. But like for me, because I worked for several years in multiple game stores actually, so I've cleaned probably every single one of these controllers multiple times, and it's just again, it's that the kind of time travel ability to just looking at it, it transports you back to either playing it or where I was working at the time or whatever. So it was very cool in that regard. So but I really enjoyed it. It was very good.
I also just love some of the obscure stuff in here. Like right now I'm looking at Cheetah Batman and Batman Returns
Yes,
controllers. It looks like something that you would see for like an Atari 2600 or like the Atari VCS or something like that. Cheetah Bart Simpson, same thing. These came out in in the early 90s, so it looks like these are just like joysticks for. Oh, there's an Alien one too, Alien 3. This is wild. Just all these from this, I guess, this company called Cheetah, stuff like I never would have thought existed, which is really, really cool. Like, I don't know, I just something you said, Mick, I thought really resonated with me is like looking through history with this. Like I enjoy this type of book where it's kind of once again, it's not comprehensive. It's borderline impossible to do that in like a realistic like page count, but being able to look through all the controllers and kind of see how design evolved and changed and how people's taste, like you can see which consoles did well and which didn't. So you get an idea of like what controllers became popular and what controllers died because they just were not they did not stand up. I'm thinking Intellivision or ColecoVision with those weird like phone controllers with the number pads and shit like that. That always was weird to me. But anyway, all right. So once again, thank you to Bitmap Books for the review copies. And with that said, guys, let's jump on in to our controller rankings. We're going to rank from our lowest to our highest. And for those who are new to my ranking system here, it's not, I shouldn't say it's mine. I got this from the James Bonding podcast. The way it works is that we're all going to give our ranking for whichever current one we're on. Right now we're at the lowest of the lowest down, 19 out of 19. We can only discuss a controller once all three of us have mentioned it. So let's say two of us list a controller down, the same controller down here at the bottom of the barrel at 19, but one of us puts it up at number 5. We're having to wait to discuss the controller all the way up until whoever is the last person to rank it. So that's how we're going to do this. And then at the end of the episode, I will give an overall ranking. I'm kind of like putting some points shenanery behind the scenes, and I'll calculate and tabulate all that shit up, and we will see which was the overall ranking for everything with this. So with that said, let's get this started. We're going to kick this off with Chris. Chris, what is your 19th, your lowest ranked controller?
The Sega Master System.
Okay. Sega Master System is on the board. Mick, over to you. Your 19th, your lowest ranked controller.
Well, drifting in at number 19, it's the Joy-Cons.
Whoa. Okay. Joy-Cons. First appearance of Joy-Cons.
Chris's reaction. I was like, I'm going to make somebody mad with this.
Oh, I'm not mad. I am not mad.
Good.
He's just disappointed.
That's fine.
No, not even that.
For me, at my number 19, I'm in agreement with you, Chris. My lowest ranked one is the Sega Master System. So that is a no. This is a no discussion round. We're going to move on up to round 18. Chris, what is your 18th ranked controller?
My number 18. This might be a controversial pick for some, but especially people with big hands. I have decently sized hands, but they're not gigantic. So my number 18 is going to be the Duke, the original Xbox controller.
Wow.
It's that's fair. It's fair. I'm not mad about it. Not mad yet, at least. Mick, what about you? What's your 18?
Sega Master System.
Oh my God, we got a discussion round. It's our first one, the lowest scored. It's probably not going to be any. It's pretty low. So, you know what? I'm going to start, since Chris, you were the first one to rank it as well. What about the Sega Master System you just can't get behind? The controller, I should clarify.
Just about everything. I mean, it's not the worst. But the best thing you can say about the Sega Master System controller is that it's not the worst controller ever made. There are worse controllers that do exist. The D-pad is bad. It's really hard to gauge. Oh my
God, is it ever?
Yes, it's terrible. It's really hard to gauge where exactly are you on the D-pad sometimes, because it's like a circle, but it's not a circle. And like the I don't want to say indentures, not indentures, but the tabs that are on the circle aren't raised enough to really give you a good idea of where anything is. The buttons are mushy. I don't want to talk about another controller here, but compared to other controllers that were around at the time, it doesn't have the same sort of responsiveness that those other controllers do. And it's really hard to describe how it is. It just doesn't feel right. And just the overall ergonomics, it's like they took a box and they carved out where you're supposed to press things. It doesn't feel natural, even though like a square doesn't necessarily feel natural. Now that we've learned how to ergonomically design controllers, it doesn't feel right. And there's no start and select buttons. The pause button's on the console.
It's on the
console. What is it doing on the console? It should be on the controller. It's not even wired onto the system like the Famicom. That would make sense. It's like unwired. You could untether it. I can't think of a very positive thing to say about this controller. It's just bad. Get rid of it and replace it with a Sega Genesis controller. But you have to keep it because there's some games that won't work unless you're using it. I'm looking at you, Wonder Boy and Monsterland, that would otherwise be fantastic games. It's bad. It's just a bad controller.
It's really bad. I think for myself, the reason I ranked it at the bottom of the barrel too, is that the D-pad first off, and the pause button. Those were the two main things. And it's funny because we're going to get to it. I'm not going to do a big discussion now, but in a similar shape is the NES controller, but that works better. And it's weird how that works better, but this one doesn't. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the D-pad is just god awful. Maybe because Nintendo, I believe at the time, still had a patent on the D-pad, so that no one could replicate it the same way. But come on, man, there had to have been a better solution than what you had there. The D-pad on the Genesis was a lot better. I'm pretty sure the patent would have still been applied even back then. I don't know. Is it 25 years or some shit for patents? I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but we'll get to the Genesis D-pad and other D-pads that came out that definitely suggested you could do something better.
Exactly. Mick, what about you though? Why you put it just above us? We'll find out why you put the Joy-Con so low.
It more whenever you guys I watched. It's going to be like my number one is the Joy-Con.
I don't think so.
Shit. No, it's a lot of what you guys already said. To me, the controller for Sega Master System is so bad that it negatively impacts whatever game you're playing, so that the games don't even feel as good because the controller is just so horrid. Yep. It's like the Temu NES controller. That's what it is. It's like they described the NES controller
That's
and
the
somebody
best description I've ever heard.
No, I disagree, because I guarantee you that the Russians playing the fucking Dendy had a better controller than the Master System.
And that is also Temu covered Famicom. In this book. It's so fun. Yeah, Master System by far it was the worst. Right? Yeah, I'm glad we all agreed on this. I'm glad we all came together for this one.
Yeah, it's funny because I did consider Master System for my worst one, but no, it's got to go to the Joy-Con. Sorry.
We'll find out
We'll get there.
we'll find out why in a little bit, and it's getting closer because my number 18, y'all, is also the Joy-Cons.
Let's go.
So my 18 is also at the Joy-Con. So we'll see if the next round it'll get discussed. I don't know. Well, I don't know. We'll have to find out what Chris's 17 is. But yeah, let's move on. Our 17th ranking for all these. Chris, starting off with you.
Maybe I'm spiraling out of control a little bit, but my number 17 is the Dreamcast.
What?
Wow.
That is a hot take.
That is, ouch. I'm burnt because that take is
listen,
so
it's not in, I can tell you it's not in my top 5, but it's definitely not near the bottom. That's
not, yeah.
I'm excited to hear this. Mick, what about you for 17?
TurboGrafx 16.
Ooh, that's actually a little bit of a hot take too.
Yeah, I think so. That's fair.
All right, my 17 is, wow, I'm actually surprised. I think that my next tier are going to make people mad. It's the Wiimote with the nunchuck.
Oh, wow.
Wiimote with nunchuck. I'm just writing that down on my spreadsheet. This is a no discussion round. So, up to you, Chris, for 16, your 16th ranking.
Well, let's bring in back the discussions. My number 16 is the Joy-Cons.
Hey.
The Joy-Cons, baby. All right, Mick, you were the one to we're going to start off with you on this one because you ranked it the lowest out of all of us. So what about the Joy-Cons? Put it below the Sega Master System of all things.
Because it's, as I said, the drift. The fact that it is like built-in broken already is,
that's a good point.
Joy-Con drift is not like a maybe. It's Thanos. It is inevitable. So you've got that, number one. Number two, the size. Like if again, I don't have like the biggest hands, but they're not like small or anything. But if you're trying to play with just a Joy-Con, you feel like Andre the Giant. Like you're gonna snap this thing in half. It's so tiny. It's not super responsive. It's not super intuitive. You feel like you're just going to annihilate this thing when you hold it. Even sliding it into the holder for the controller, that's still not great. It's still very small. Like one of the best things I ever did is I bought attachments for my Switch that make it bigger. And the best thing they did is they made a pro style controller. So I didn't have to use these pieces of shit all the time. So yes, yes, it deserves to die. And I hope it burns in hell.
That's so it's funny. That's fair. I'll be honest, I forgot about Joy-Con drift. I probably shouldn't have forgotten about Joy-Con drift because that was a major problem and still is a major problem with the controller. The reason mine was just a step higher though is I kind of forgave it because it never really impacted my gameplay experience less than the Master System did with my limited experience with the Sega Master System. But like the Joy-Con drift, as much as it was a problem, I very seldomly, I even when I was playing in the dock, like having it in the docking mode, it really didn't affect it all that much. And then when I would play it handheld, it was also not too big a deal. It did happen. Like there was times where like I would hit a button and it just wouldn't respond because of the drift, it just wasn't responding, but I don't know. It just didn't bother me all that much. But Chris, you put it higher than all of us.
Yes. I mean, not that much higher. I mean, slow down. But
he's a Joy-Con apologist here.
Yeah, I guess so. The thing I look at the Joy-Cons is I don't really view it as a console controller per se. This is a portable gaming controller. And it's something that was trying to essentially be a controller for a tablet when you didn't really have that for what Nintendo was attempting to do. So I give it a lot of grace in that aspect. The buttons are responsive, even though it doesn't have a D-pad, which is, I get why they didn't do it, but it sucks. But I also kind of look at that the Joy-Cons can be versatile. Like there are some motion functionality that do work in certain games, and they work really well. Honestly, they have a decent rumble. Like it has an HD rumble that's quite effective. And I don't like the offset, but I do appreciate the fact that you can technically have two controllers out of the box. I mean, they're terrible when you do that because who wants to use that setup? But I mean, you can do it. But it has a lot of versatility. There are things I like about it. It's not good, but it's not terrible playing it in portable mode. And that's what a lot of people did. And a lot of people didn't mind it for a while until they started drifting, which is a massive problem. I'm not even going to hide from it. But like it kind of became a meme to dunk on them when there wasn't really a problem with them until about mid 2018, like a year after release. That being said, I don't like offset joysticks here in this particular case, even though I do understand why they are. I do miss a D-pad, even though like it's not as necessary here as it has been in the past, just because it, a lot more 3D gaming, even though the Switch would essentially become a just an incredible system for like 2D indie games and retro throwbacks. But that's also the reason that there are so many attachments for this system that exist and is massively profitable, just because you have people that want to have big hands and not want to have big hands, that do have big hands.
I want big hands so bad.
I mean, I do want bigger hands. It might increase the size of other things, but like you have components that make it easier for people with big hands or bigger hands to control the system. Like I have my cracked Nitro deck, and that thing's amazing. I'm never ever going back to the Joy-Cons or the Hori Joypad Pros.
Oh, those are great.
Excellent.
Yeah, those are excellent. Why would you ever want to go back? You lose the rumble, but who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Because like the control is far better. So yeah, they're completely unnecessary. They're not very good, but I understand their purpose, and it's really hard for me to hate them because they are functional until they start drifting on you. And it would be nice too if Nintendo would eventually just lower the price below, like, I don't know, like $100. I don't know what they are. It's stupid.
It's
but
really expensive.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot to hate here, but I don't hate it as much as you do, obviously.
The only reason I can guess as to why there's so much money is that technically in the biggest goddamn quotation marks you can find, there are two controllers in a pack because you can turn them sideways, even though they're small as shit. Like I get it, but at the same time, fuck you. Like they're not comfortable. Like
no,
like, come on.
And they were technically impressive in 2017.
Yes.
Yeah. Here we are.
Really cool idea. For like that's honestly why I went higher, like put it on, like that's why it wasn't my lowest, because as much as I think they're a little bit more uncomfortable than the Sega Master System, they are more responsive. And also I think your point is very valid, Chris. Like they were experimental for the time. Like this was like a new like a solution to an idea we hadn't even thought of yet, type of thing. So I give the controllers grace. Same thing you said, Chris. I agree with you on that. All right, Mick, over to you for your 16.
Wiimote with the nunchuck.
Oh, maybe I'm not as crazy as I thought. All right, Wiimote with the nunchuck. For me, it's actually another Wii based thing. Is the Wii U gamepad is my 16. So Wii U gamepad. Let me put that in.
Y'all gonna love me.
Wii U gamepad. So we're moving on up to round 15 to our 15th ranking, I should say. Chris, what did you rank at number 15?
The PlayStation 1.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
Oh, God, no.
Honestly, I'm kind of here for it. Where did I put? Yeah, we'll get to it. Okay, so PS1 at 15 for you, Chris. What about you, Mick?
The Wii U gamepad.
Okay, that's 2 for the Wii U gamepad. We have like you. That's so funny that I ranked in the same order, just one below for you. Wiimote and Wii U gamepad. For me at 15, I do think it's a little funny that I just did a big reaction to Chris's at 15. Mine's the same one, apparently. I totally forgot I ranked it where I did.
Oh, you monsters.
It's the PS1 something we forgot to mention at the top of the episode. We were going over, we're clarifying by the way, listeners, the reason why I can't say for certain yet because we can't have the discussion yet, but at least one of the reasons I can speculate that Chris and I both ranked it where we did is that we are basing it off of the non-analog stick, the non-DualShock PS1. It is the basic ass out of the box 1995 D-pad and 4 buttons and the L1 R1 and L2 R2, all those shit, all that shit. So that I can't say for certain. We'll get to the discussion when we get to it, but that is how we are ranking it. So far, this is going to be interesting. We have 2 votes for a bunch of things for the Wiimote, for the Wii U, and for the PS1. We will see where things go from here. So, Chris, back to you for your 14th ranked game controller.
The PlayStation 3.
Okay, I don't remember. I'm hesitant to react because I don't remember where I ranked it off the top of my head. We will see. Mick, what about you?
I'm going to say, and this may be controversial for some, the Nintendo 64.
I would say for most people, it is not that controversial. For me, how dare you? But
that's how I feel with the destruction that's happening to PlayStation right now.
I mean, honestly, if I'm not to give too much away here, I don't really hate anything. I don't hate any. I can't talk. I don't hate any of the controllers 15 and up. I'm just going to be honest. I don't hate any of them.
Oh, I don't hate the N64 controller at all.
Okay. Well, I'm just like, I like all of them, actually. It was tough.
I actually am a little bit more lenient. Everything 17 and up, I'm like pretty cool with, at least for me. But all right, for my 14, I did. I mean, double check. Yes, that's right. The Duke, the big boy, the Duke. Now, if I was going off the original, not the original, the remaked one, it would definitely be a little bit higher. I'll put that in for myself. I'll let just for posterity. But
I agree
when we get to it. But up to our 13th ranked controllers, Chris.
N64.
Hey.
Nintendo 64. Let me see. Where do I rank the Nintendo? We're going to have to wait a little bit for that one. A little bit. For me, it is this. Oh, sorry. I just realized I skipped you, Mick. Mick, over to you for your 13th.
It's discussion time because mine is the Duke.
The Duke!
Yeah. It's the size, man. This thing is gigantic.
You don't like big? You don't like it big?
I mean, I like as big as much as the next guy, but this is intimidatingly big. The Duke, more like the Dread. Am I right? No, it's that's really what it is. It's just so insanely cumbersome. And from my memory, and I know some people will say, well, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it feels like the cable is like 12 feet long. It just gets like tangled up and all that kind of stuff. It's too big, too cumbersome. It's a pain in the ass when you're trying to like store it and all that. I mean, that's really the problem. Like they got it right when they shrunk it, because like the design of the controller is not bad. Like I don't think that the Xbox controller is bad by any means. I think it's a pretty great design, and they also incorporated some new buttons in there, which was really cool. But yeah, man, it's just too damn big. It's like it's sort of like they took like the concept of like a fight pad and said, let's make it bigger. And yeah, it's way too big. It's just way too big.
I think real quick before I throw it over to you, Chris, I just have one point I want to make. The reason, like, I maybe could have ranked this lower, but only not because of comfort, but only for this reason. the Xbox was one of the, it was not, I'm not going to say it was the first controller, definitely not, but Microsoft did a lot of R&D into ergonomics for their console, right? They really, that is something I remember learning, that they really wanted to focus on like how it feels in your hand and that it's comfortable. So they did all that research only to be like, and now double size it. Let's just make it fucking huge so it doesn't fit in your hand anymore. It's
That's what
really
she said.
no,
Nope.
yeah.
It feels like
it's strange.
they were-
It's a strange choice to me to put all that research into ergonomics and then be like, you know what? Let's just make it gigantic, which completely negates all the ergonomics.
I don't think they're too off base in a way. I think I remember what their thought process was, which is why the S model of the controller was included in the Japanese launch, is because, to borrow a quote from South Park, and I'm quoting from South Park, please don't hate me. American, you so big, so big. Japanese, so small, so small. And so they're like, yeah, Americans love big things. Give them a big fucking controller. Yeah, with the big X in the middle.
Controller.
Yeah. And make it super huge and make them feel good about themselves. Japanese give them the little one for their dainty hands and their more technical gameplay. And we figured out what actually was more comfortable at the end. They were just wrong. I think that's what it comes down to. I think they met with giant people and said, how does this feel? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, okay. And no. But I guess I'll just take this. I'm not the biggest person on aesthetics when it comes to controllers, because I actually think the Sega Master System controller looks kind of cool. But this controller's fucking ugly. It's an ugly controller.
It is.
and like the big plastic X in the middle, when was that ever cool? And they have 2 memory slots. You can tell they were like ripping off the Dreamcast hard. They really wanted to be the Dreamcast controller. So it has like these 2 big memory card slots in the controller that you don't have to use because it has onboard storage. There's no real reason for it. They just included it because, yeah, fuck it, why not? Big controller, let's do it. And they have like this white and black button on like the side or somewhere on the controller that's like not in a convenient spot whatsoever. I'm getting them mixed up between the XS and the original one, but it's not convenient. And you know what also it does? Because those stupid fucking buttons existed, it makes it like a pain in the ass when you go back and you play original Xbox games on any single one of the subsequent Xboxes when they're emulated and they had to use those buttons. And it's just, I hate it. Like I hate the positioning of it. I hate the ergonomics of it. I hate the look of it. It looks cheap. It looks shitty. And if you're saying like you're coming into the space as Microsoft with tons and tons and tons of money, like you could have at least made a controller that looked cool, that looked sleek. And this looks like a giant green or black turd. I'm sorry. It just, and like, even the nubs, like the analog sticks, they're just they look like big fat nipples, and I don't like it.
I'm gonna go in trigger happy
big
now just to
nipples.
see like what pictures do they have of the Duke, because now I'm curious. Like I want to see, do they look like nipples? I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Like weird nipples.
Weird nipples. That is. I kind of see it.
And what's that D-pad? What the fuck is that D-pad?
It is very odd. Like everything about the controller is very odd. I also think it is strange how gigantic, like how much real estate that logo takes up on the controller is just bonkers to me. It is just crazy. The S controller is a lot more like efficient in space and everything. It looks a lot better overall. And also I'm seeing where you're getting the nipple thing, because the right joystick, it's like the concave part is a lot smaller than the left one. It's very strange choices all
you
around.
can kill a man with this controller too, like very easily. You can kill a man.
Yeah, as you should.
Now, do you think though that where the black and white buttons are on the Duke, where they're up top, they're above the ABXYs, they're on the S, they are down below it. Which do you think is a better placement?
It's way better that they're lower, because depending on which game you're playing, it makes it way easier to hit them. So them being up for me, it's just like I forget that they're there, and you're like, fuck, if like you're having to do something quickly that involves those buttons, which thankfully most of the games that utilize those buttons, it's not, super time sensitive to hit them. But yeah, it's way easier on the S.
All right. Well, I think that thoroughly dukes the Duke. So I'm going to move over to my 13th ranked one. And that one for me, if I'm making sure I'm correct with this, is the Sega Saturn. A little bit low for the Sega Saturn, I know. I can hear Chris dying a little bit on the inside as I say that. All right, up to the 12th, our 12th ranked one.
My 12th ranked one is the TurboGrafx 16.
All right, that is 2 mentions of the TurboGrafx 16. 2 mentions. TurboGrafx. All right, Mick, what about you? What is your 12th ranked?
This is a little hard to say, but Dreamcast.
Okay.
High.
All right, Dreamcast is so two bits for Dreamcast already, or 2 votes for Dreamcast. We are gonna have another discussion round, y'all, because my 12th is the Nintendo 64.
Hey,
Nintendo 64. Now I'm looking at it. We all kind of like grouped ours together very quickly. Mick, you ranked it 2 below me, then Chris 1 below me, and then me at the highest of all of them. I'll kick this one off first. I'm ranking, and I wanted to kick this off first because Nintendo 64, I kind of have, I tried to be fair with it, but I love the Nintendo 64 controller, and I understand it's not better than the ones I ranked higher, but like, I think part of it also, I get hipster Josh comes out a little bit where this controller gets shit on all the time, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people being shitty to the Nintendo 64. It's a good fucking controller, and I don't understand where all this hate for it comes from, because it's like, because everyone's like, oh, it's shaped like a trident. I don't understand. I'm like, you move your hands for whichever game is needed. Are you playing a first person shooter, or are you playing a game that's joystick dominant? Put your hands on the center fucking thing. Put your hands on that center shaft. All right. If you're playing something that is more of like that uses the D-pad, you move your hand over to the left side, because and most of the games, if they're designed well enough, are smart where the L and R buttons on the side do the same fucking thing. So it's not like, you have to like hold the controller in the center part of the trident and then like somehow finagle your finger over to the L button. No, they do the same goddamn thing anyway. It's comfortable in your hands. It's genuinely very comfortable. I don't, at least for me, it still feels good in my hands. And I don't know if that's nostalgia talking, or I'm just, I don't know, that sounded really sexual for a moment. Either way, you take it as it is.
No, not sex jokes.
Not sex jokes on
my virgin ears.
But I think the N64 controller is not bad. It's got problems because it is a weird idea. I can understand how looking at it, it's not intuitive at first, but like once you sit down and play the games for just like an hour or two, it's not hard to understand how it works, and it's not hard to play on. I will say its biggest downfall is that Nintendo designed too many controllers that broke the controller down, i.e. Mario Party, or also even like just in general, just general wear and tear. Like the joysticks on those controllers tend to go, and a lot of the off market stuff, the the repros and stuff like that, don't feel good. They don't feel the same as the original one, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just like, I don't think it could be a patent. The system's like approaching 30 years old, so it's like I don't know where that's coming from. But I don't know. I like this controller a lot. I think it's good, and I think it gets unfairly shit on because people. It's like the AVGN effect, where it's like people. Everyone else says it's bad, therefore, even though other people haven't played it, it is now bad. And I feel like it's kind of something like that, where everyone they've never played it themselves, but they know everyone else says it's bad, so then they assume that it's bad, and it's not, and it's worth playing. Anyway, I'm done my rant. Who wants to go next?
So that's actually I don't have a problem with this controller. I don't have a problem with the design. I don't really have a problem with the layout, particularly when you think about how it integrates with the various games and how they utilize the different buttons, like the C buttons and the Z button. The Z button, I think, is great, especially for like a first-person shooter. Actually, feels like you're pulling a trigger.
Yes,
The reason why
I agree.
the reason why I ranked it lower is, and you nailed this already, is the fact that if you play Mario Party, you are gonna wreck the joystick portion of it, because
Mhm.
it's literally a little string that is in there, is a piece of string, and it's damn near inevitable that you're just going to grind through that thing playing Mario Party, and it leads to a broken controller. So that's honestly, that's my biggest gripe with the 64, is not that it's a bad design. It's not that anything like that. It's straight up the fact that it's kind of way too easy to break by simply playing the game. And yeah, I guess, well, you don't have to like spin it on Mario Party. Sure, if you want
Yeah,
to
but do
fucking
you want to
lose.
lose?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. So like that's really my biggest gripe, is it's just so insanely easy to break it. Only reason I have an issue and why I've ranked it where I did.
Mm-hmm. I also don't hate this controller. I hate the insane amount of misplaced hate that it gets. I think I think it's an appropriate controller. My biggest downside with the controller is that it's a great controller for Nintendo produced games and Nintendo developed
yes,
games,
For
but
sure.
not much else. That's kind of the issue I have with it. I think that Nintendo still thought that they were going to guide the industry, much like they had for the previous 10 years. And what we found out by the end of the generation is that they did not even close. And that developers wanted to move closer where the PlayStation controller was, or most so the DualShock controller was going. And the C buttons kind of feel a little weird when you're playing non-Nintendo games, because Nintendo, they designed the controller and they designed their games around the controller, but everything else was a lot of ports. The D-pad, I think, is one of the best D-pads that Nintendo has ever made. I think that's a quality D-pad. Here's the thing: you're not going to be using it a lot, if like ever. I mean, there's a couple games on there that are really good that you use the D-pad with, but they're kind of weird, and weird's fine. I have no problem with weird. It's just that these aren't the games that necessarily define the Nintendo 64. So a lot of that space is unused. So I can kind of understand, why is there a third prong? I understand that's a stupid comment for anyone who's actually played the damn system, but it kind of feels like it's left out, and I can kind of understand why they moved the way they did when they designed the GameCube. Maybe overcompensated. Well, definitely overcompensated. But I don't think it hampered it too much. A little bit of spoiler in my thoughts there. But
I want to add something,
yeah,
if I may, just because Josh touched on this, and I feel like we're gonna touch on this again some more. I think a lot of the misplaced hate with the 64 controller is, as you said, it's sort of the AVGN response, where it's like, he said this thing, so now that is in like the public consciousness. And I think it's also people, this is not to be ageist, but I think it's younger people who didn't play with this controller when it first came out, and it was very different and innovative and all that great stuff. So you're having people who have since had better designed controllers going back and playing it and saying, well, this isn't as good because of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's not, like, of course it's not as good now compared to what we had. So again, not to be like the old man being like, well, you kids just weren't there. But I mean, that's, I think, a big part of the hate is you have people who didn't experience it when it first came out, and they're experiencing it much later and unfairly comparing it, I think.
yeah. But yeah, I think
Because
the analog stick on that controller is really good.
yeah.
But I think if you, and we'll get into it, but I think if you set it next to the GameCube, it's like, come on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, totally.
And I also, the last point on the N64 controller, I think one of its other downfalls, and also why I probably didn't rank it as low, is that it's not it's got a similar problem to the GameCube in the sense that like games were so designed around it that when you port games from that system to others, I would say it's more noticeable on the N64, but like I've tried to play Mario 64 on like other types of like things, and they have to
It feels fucking
it
weird.
feels weird.
It does.
And I think games that are designed around that controller, it doesn't work as well on other systems. And I find like specifically with the Nintendo games, like I think Mario 64 is the best example I have of it, but like, you know, I mean, well, GoldenEye should never really be remade. Anyway, that's another discussion for another day. But it's just it it's almost like too niche. It's almost like too hyper focused on what its experience is trying to be,
Agreed.
and that can hurt
Yeah.
it in the long run. Because if you don't like the games if you don't like what the majority of the games are on the system, then that controller is not going to be for you in any other context. But
I mean, I think that's the classic Nintendo problem is like if we were talking a Nintendo game, the controller's excellent and amazing for it. Which obviously there are exceptions, but later, like from N64 on, like the controllers, games by Nintendo, it's great. Made by somebody else, probably not so good.
it's
Yeah.
something. But all right, let's move on up to our 11th. We're up to round 11. We're getting close to the halfway point, just about. So, Chris, what is your 11th ranked controller?
The Nintendo Entertainment System.
NES, baby. The first mention of the NES. That's shocking. Mick, over to you for your 11th.
Sega Genesis.
Sega, the Genesis. Oh my gosh.
It
can see that.
hurts to put it at 11. And I
I
love
can
this,
see that.
but we're talking the three. So we talked about this before we started. We're talking about the 3-button controller.
Yes.
So that's why it lands here for me.
All right. Then for myself, first mention of this, the PlayStation 2.
Ooh.
You're a monster.
We'll see where this goes from here. No discussion round on this one. So, Chris, up to you for round 10.
Well, I'll end the no discussion round here because we're discussing it. It's going to be the Wiimote and Nunchuck.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, man. So Mick and I ranked it pretty low. So I want to hear from you first, Chris, on this one. Like, what made you rank it? Honestly, middle of the pack. Like, we're pretty much coming into the midpoint of this whole ranking. So what made you rank it where you did?
So weirdly, the game that really convinced me that I liked this control scheme is the game that a lot of people said that you need to get the Pro Controller for, and that's Xenoblade Chronicles.
Oh,
and
okay.
One of the reasons is because being able to move freely around with my left hand while being able to still control things with my right hand in a more freeing way, it's hard to describe because it just felt right. And not having my hands having to be close together all of the time. Like I could move my hands around more freely, more relaxed. 3D games worked fine because all the buttons were where they needed to be in my right hand. So I could like spread my arms relatively far apart and be relaxed instead of having them right in front of me in a single position the entire time and kind of just relax and play games. I think the analog stick is really good. I think the button responsiveness is really good. You don't have waggle on a lot of games. It's not necessary, so you don't really have to worry about that. It's really just kind of it's kind of like the N64 controller, but without having to be constrained into a central
with the
location.
Pieces like 4 feet apart from each other.
No, absolutely. I agree. And the fact like the D-pad is not the best. It's definitely not the best effort that Nintendo's done, but it's not bad. And it does function okay as a 2D controller. It's definitely not as good as the NES. But it does all right. But just the functionality, the capability for what it needs to do, and especially if you have the light sensor bar set up in the correct location, it is very responsive in terms of motion control, especially once you get to the Wii Motion Plus. Yeah, I don't really have any issues with it. I think it just works. And it works a lot better than I think people give it credit for, because I think when people think of it, all they think of it is the waggle mechanics. And I can tell you, out of all the time I spent with my Wii, most of it wasn't on waggle games. So I really did enjoy having that 3D experience. And I think having a good nunchuck Because I mean, there's a lot of third-party ones that broke down, but having a really good nunchuck connection with that nice matte finish, nice textured finish underneath. I and same with the Wiimote. I think it's a really good controller to hold. It's relatively ergonomic, and I just like the feel of it, man. I think it feels really good.
I'll go next since I ranked it the lowest out of all of us. I think, and it's like looking back, like that's why I was saying like 17 and up when I said it before, because I ranked it 17th. I don't hate any of these controllers. I do like the Wiimote and the nunchuck. I think the reason I ranked it so low is because of the waggle. Like you said you played a lot of games that it didn't involve that, and that is the case. There's plenty of games that don't make you wag your Wiimote around, but
No,
it is. But I think for me, it was just whenever I would try to play some games, I remember like going over to a friend's house and he got Mega Man 9 on it. And you would flip the Wiimote sideways so that way you could play it like an NES controller. And it just never felt right. It always like the D-pad I did not enjoy. It was fine. Like now that I play it, I don't mind it so much, but I just remember not necessarily enjoying it all that much. Like anytime that you either had to force in motion controls to some of the games I played, or the control scheme just didn't fit very well. But then there was other times when I would play a game, whether it was Mario Galaxy or oh my gosh, even the freaking what is it, the Raving Rabbids game.
yeah,
Now there's like a
Rayman Raving
billion of them,
Rabbids.
but that's a fun game. That first one, that like all of them are, I'm sure, decent, but I haven't played any of the newer ones. But that first game I loved. And like when there was a game that did it well, it did it really fucking well. And but then there's other games like if you ever play the Conduit, like I can't stand that game. I'm curious to give it a shot again at some point. I've put it up on Patreon polls at points just because I'm like I want to give the game another try. But it is like it is but the problem with that game is that since it's a first person shooter, they only like you use the Wiimote to aim up and down. And the problem with that is that you like you there's a essentially like you can only look up 45 degrees like a 45 degree angle, so there's this constant cone above your head that you can't see, and you have to move the Wiimote to the edge of the screen to have your character look. You can't just move a joystick to turn around, which I understand. Like at first I thought, oh, how cool would it be to have like an FPS with a Wiimote? It's awful. It's an awful idea because it just I can't think of a elegant solution with it. So I don't know. I don't think it's the worst. Obviously, I didn't rank it at the lowest, but it just I had too many highs and lows with it. There was too much of a juxtaposition. Like the highs were really high, but the lows were really low for me. But Mick, what about you? You ranked it in the middle of the two of us.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of what you said. It's not that I think it's not a cool idea, and as I said before with like the N64, I do think like first party Nintendo games really sing with this controller because again, they designed it so they built a lot of like mechanics and things like that alongside this. The reason why I ranked it where I did is just because playing Twilight Princess had a certain level of frustration using the Wiimote and the nunchuck. Like sometimes it was fine, but then if you had a long day at work, you want to unwind, play a little Zelda, you got to fucking swing the sword and all that kind of thing, and it's just a little frustrating in that regard. Same with first what was Red Steel. That game was so insanely clunky playing with the Wii mode and nunchuck. But that's one that I immediately think of where I'm like, on paper, you're like, oh no, man, you use guns, you use katanas, like this is going to be perfect. It's not. It's really clunky and tough, and they later kind of refined it, with the Wii Motion Plus and everything. But that's really what it is for me. Is I appreciate the idea. I don't think that it's a bad idea, and especially with stuff like Wii Sports or Mario Party, it's great because like that's what you want. Like it's very interactive. It's very you're not just sitting there. But for games that there are games that I want to sit back and relax and not have to swing around. because that's how you swing the sword in Twilight Princess is actually move your wrist and Link swings. And there are just so many times where, because of the inherent nature of that, I would die or I'd miss, and it just led to a lot of frustrations. That's kind of why I ranked it where I did. But I do think it's very cool, because I don't hate it. The Joy-Con I hate. I don't hate the Wii remote.
The Wiimote, there was no Wiimote drift. Your Wii was not drifting.
No. Unless you had your light sensor set up incorrectly.
Yes, yeah. And also it doubled as a controller for the Wii U, because obviously the Wii U had the gamepad, which is why we put that as the main controller for it, but you could also sync up your Wii controllers to your Wii U, which was kind of cool. So a lot of cool like synergy with that. But all right, Mick, your 10th ranked controller now.
So this is where it starts getting a little tough for me.
Getting dicey.
And I hate to say it. I hate to put it this low, and it opens us up for a discussion.
Oh man.
PlayStation 1.
There it is.
PS1. Okay. Chris and I put it at the same ranking. We both put ours at 15. So let's start off with you on this one, Mick. What makes you put it where it's at here?
So the original PlayStation's my favorite console of all time, so it's why it hurts to put it this low. But or not this low, but it hit my number 10 because it's sort of the evolution of that particular controller, and knowing how much better it gets down the line compared to where we started. That's really what it is, because for a lot of the games that I played, which was a lot of JRPGs, it's fine. You don't really need the analog, controller. You can just do it with D-pad. The rumble feature isn't a huge deal. But that's why I put it at 10. I don't think it's a bad design whatsoever, especially for Sony's first attempt out the gate. I think it's pretty good design in that regard, particularly when you look at like what other console makers have done with their first attempts. The Duke. I think it's a good design. It's not the best design, because again, they refined it and made it better over time. So that's why I put it at 10. Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
Chris.
I think the biggest problem for the PlayStation 1, and this is something that actually kind of haunts PlayStation controllers for a while, and I haven't used a DualSense 5 yet, so maybe they fixed it. The D-pad sucks. It's fucking awful. And there is no, well, it's not awful. I think that's too harsh, but it's not good. It's not very good. It's not a very good D-pad. It's not as bad as the Master System, for sure, or the Dreamcast. But it's not good. And the R1 and L1 buttons, no, the R1, L1, and R2 buttons, the two buttons, they're too small. It's not as ergonomic as the controller they clearly copied off of, which is the Super Nintendo controller. The buttons are a little too soft. They're not as precise or as snappy as what Nintendo was putting out there. But I do think it needs to be commended for the fact that it is distinct. It is very distinct, and they tried to do something ergonomic with the handles, but I actually think they do that better with its immediate follow-up, the analog joystick, which has slightly longer handles, slightly better L2 and R2 buttons, and the concave joysticks. I think that's the best controller of that system, to be honest with you, and I definitely think that the DualShock is a marked improvement over it as well. It doesn't really suit the mood for PlayStation either, because this was a console that was 3D focused first, and to have a bunch of 3D games with the D-pad kind of feels odd.
Yeah.
And that wasn't what its forte was. This kind of bite me a little bit in the ass down the line here, but I have an explanation for that one. But like 2D games, Sony didn't want 2D games, and there's plenty of good 2D games on the PlayStation, but this is a 3D first system first and foremost. That's what Sony wanted people playing, and I think that's why you do have a lot of tank controls with Resident Evil. Good, bad, and different how you feel about it. But I think what we found out later, when you have games like Metal Gear Solid, that analog stick makes an incredible difference in a system's performance and how those games play. So it just felt like the wrong controller at the right time. And glad it didn't really hurt the PlayStation, because we got a lot. I mean, obviously, it's the best selling system from that generation. Uh, but I think that it's the worst controller of that generation coming out of the gate. I wouldn't say it finished that way. I think the DualShock is better than the N64 controller, but I definitely think that the original PlayStation launch one, it just doesn't cut it.
Mhm.
I think it's not quite right.
See, I would still put the DualShock underneath the N64, but we're not ranking that, so it doesn't really matter. But
Ooh.
the PS1, I'm very much in agreement with you, Chris. And in all honesty, the reason I put it as low as I did, the reason I put it as low as I did was because of how small it was. It like all of it feels like my hand is having to cramp in to do what needs to be done. I think it didn't bother me as much when I was a kid, just because my hands were smaller. But now as an adult, like the the DualShock with the analog joysticks, it was a little bit larger. It fit a little bit better in your hand. And in all honesty, like PlayStation has been the definition of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like this is basically the same controller style up until the PS3, and even the PS4 has a very similar controller style. I mean, it's definitely PS4 is the first like diversion, really like major diversion from this like lineage in PlayStation, which we'll get to. So for me, I just ranked it as low as I did, just because like it doesn't have a joystick. It's a 3D first system, like you said, Chris. I think you nailed all the points. All my issues, in all honesty, those were my biggest issues with it. D-pad is not good for 3D games. There are some games you can't even play with it because once some of them required joysticks, but that was much later on, so you can't really 100% fault the controller for that. They were trying to figure shit out as they went along, but still, it just doesn't do it for me. Like, I love the PS1. I loved playing that system growing up, but like, man, that basic control, that base controller just really is rough going back to it now, even compared to other PS1 controllers as well.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. It improved so much, even in the life cycle of the original PlayStation.
Yeah.
They improved on it
Totally.
tremendously.
So I will list my 10th ranked one, and I'll give a little, because it's not going to be a discussion round. It is the PS3. The PS3 is where I ranked it at number 10, and we are halfway through the ranking so far. We have had 6 different controllers discussed out of the 9 or 10 that we've covered so far. The controllers that we have not talked about yet, but have had mentions. TurboGrafx 16 has 2 different votes so far. The PS3 has 2 different votes so far. The Genesis only has 1. The Wii U gamepad has 2. The Dreamcast has 2. And the NES has 1. I'm probably missing a few, but that's where we're at. So we have a bunch that we could see. Will we see a triple discussion round? I don't know. We'll find out. Well, we definitely will at least by the end of it. I would assume in the top two rankings, we'll probably see a couple triple discussions, but we'll see. All right, that is our mid-ranking roundup. And I guess, you know what? Just something a little bit funny. The last thing I'm going to say before we continue our ranking. Would you guess? So I didn't really describe it well at the beginning of the episode, but the way I'm doing an overall ranking is whatever is ranked at 19 gets 1 point, because it is the lowest ranked thing, right? Whatever is ranked at 18 gets 2 points, 17 gets 3 points, so on and so forth, until whatever is ranked at 1 gets 19 points. Funnily enough, by using that metric, by adding all those totals together based off how we've ranked, even though the N64 was last mentioned 2 rounds ago at round 12, and we've already done 11 and 10 since then, has a higher overall score than everything else that we've discussed so far. Which I find really amusing how that works, because it all grouped together more quickly. We all ranked it in a similar spot, and you're gonna see that too if we all rank another controller at a very similar like grouping, maybe once again in round after round after round in succession, whatever the fuck.
Succession, yeah.
successive rounds, whatever it is. Anyway, we'll see if something else like that pans out. But we're moving on to round number 9, to ranking number 9. So Chris, what's your 9th ranked controller?
The Sega Genesis.
Oh man, that's 2 for the Genesis now. We got 2 up for Genesis. Mick, over to you for your number 9.
The original NES.
2 for the NES. Okay.
See, we weren't that far away on this one.
No. For me, I'm putting at my number 9, it is a discussion round, everyone, the TurboGrafx 16.
All right. I think this is fair.
I'm going to go first on this only because full disclaimer, I have not played the TurboGrafx 16 or the PC Engine. The reason it's as high as it is, though, just to give my my justification, is that it reminds me of an NES controller, which I really like, but it came out after the NES controller, so I could not rank it higher than the NES that did a similar thing first. And from what I've heard from everyone else, that the TurboGrafx/PC Engine is a great system. So, and I've never heard a bad thing about the controller. So I figured, well, if I put the NES at one spot or whatever, I only remember if there's anything in between these two. But if I put the NES, I have to put the TurboGrafx 1 or 2 below it. So that's a little hint for what's coming up in 1 or 2 rounds. But yeah, that's why I put it where I did. It looks like an NES controller, but it came out later, so I give it to the NES to be higher. So that's my only justification. So I'll throw it over to you know what, Mick, you put it the lowest. So what made you put it all the way down at 17?
It's because I have the least amount of experience with this controller.
So you did the opposite.
Yeah, by default, because I have very little experience other than like I've cleaned them and I've held them, but I've not really played any games with it. So, you know, because of that, it just automatically gets ranked lower because I don't think it's bad. It's just, again, I have such little experience with it that I just couldn't rank it higher.
So then, Chris, this is your time to shine, to explain why the TurboGrafx 16 is good but mid, because you put it middle of the pack for you.
There's really not much to elaborate on, even though I've been very long-winded. I guess I'm going to continue that trend because I'm still talking here. But you said it best, Josh. It's an NES controller, but with a D-pad that's not as good. And the D-pad's fine. Like, the D-pad's fine. It's not as good as the NES controller. Ergonomically, it's just slightly better than the NES controller, but more nostalgia for the NES controller, which is why I ranked it 1 less below. But other than that, like, buttons are just as responsive. The start and select button are just as responsive. It's really an equal in terms of the NES controller in almost every way, and exceeds in ergonomics. But the D-pad is a little bit better. And if you haven't guessed, I'm a big D-pad guy.
You like the D. I don't blame you.
I love the D-pad. I love the pad of Ds. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's a very solid controller. You could say that I should add bonus points for the turbo switches, but most games don't really need it. And the games that do are, you know, they know they need it. But not even every game has that. But I mean, this is to be expected. Generally, the system was designed by Hudson Soft, who worked really closely with Nintendo back then. And the PC Engine itself is really just a superpowered Famicom. So this is essentially it really is a powerful Nintendo for all intents and purposes, which is why it resembles it so much. Even down to the fact that the PC Engine was white and red, much like the Famicom kind of was. So it really borrowed a lot from it. So this should be no surprise. I would be shocked if we're not talking about the NES controller next, because these are essentially a mirror image of each other. And I'm happy where you and me rank this, Josh, unlike the cretin who decided to just rank it low because he's never played with it before.
Well, you know, I didn't. It's no slight against it, but you know, I didn't want to bullshit anybody and be like, "Well, it's my number 3 controller." I've never played a fucking game with it, so yeah. I just couldn't rank it over other things that I feel that I have a personal experience with. That's really it.
I don't
Yeah,
blame
Sure,
you.
it's great.
I don't blame
Makes
you. You're
sense.
wrong. I don't blame you though. It says someone who's never played with the controller. All right, we're gonna move on to our eighth ranking. So, Chris, your eighth ranked controller.
We're gonna get another second vote. It's gonna be my number. It's gonna be the PlayStation 2, the DualShock 2.
All right, second listing for the PS2. Mick, up to you for round 8 for you.
PlayStation 3.
All right, that's a discussion,
Oh,
y'all. That's a discussion. That PS3. Chris, I'll kick it. It's been a minute since you've kicked off discussion. I know you just wrapped up TurboGrafx,
mhm.
but
Yeah.
you deserve to kick off a discussion as well. So what's your thoughts on the PS3 controller?
I used to be a lot higher on the PlayStation 3 controller until about a year or two ago. Maybe 2
Mm,
years ago at this point, when I went through Dark Souls. And let me tell you why. Y- It started drifting. It started
mm,
drifting hardcore. And then there would be times, and by the way, this includes like a DualShock 3, 6-axis, both. They just started drifting, or they would randomly shut off and assign random button prompts to other things. It ultimately, I think it feels the cheapest of any of the PlayStation controllers up to this point, especially if you include the 6-axis. It feels incredibly light. It major misstep in not being able to have a replaceable battery, especially easily. Like what? I don't think Sony's still done that, which is a huge weakness on Sony's part. And I might be wrong, but I know the PlayStation 3, that is a huge weakness. Not
yeah,
being easily to
the
be,
PS5
yeah,
doesn't have a recharge. It's all rechargeable. You cannot
yeah.
replace the battery.
And that I mean, when you compare it to what Xbox did, and a lot of people knocked Xbox for it, but I can still put double A's in those motherfuckers. So say what you want. I
It
don't got to
future
worry
proofed
about
it.
that dying. Yeah. Or I don't have to tether myself on a controller that was deliberately expected to be wireless. D-pad is still bad. It's essentially the same thing as the PlayStation 2, but it just feels cheaper. I don't know how else to describe it. It feels like a cheap knockoff of the PlayStation 2 controller with official branding. And that's why I don't like the PlayStation 3 controller. It's faulty. It doesn't age well. It's not very durable. And like the 6-axis feels way too cheap. Feels incredibly cheap.
It's funny now that you mention all this stuff. I completely forgot because I've had issues with the controller recently too. I think in terms of longevity, like I don't have issues with the ergonomics. It's just a PS2, but now with like motion controls. So if you have the 6-axis,
Yeah,
like it just
ergonomics are fine.
the
They're fine.
ergonomics are fine. I never really had any issue when playing it, but I have had issues with controllers breaking on me. And yeah, like I've noticed that they seem and feel less durable than their PlayStation 2 counterparts, which once again is basically just the PS1 DualShock reinvented with the PS2 reinvented again with the PS3. I think the reason I ranked it kind of in the middle between all of you is just like I it's just the next evolution up. Like PS1, I was not a fan of. I like it well enough. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad controller, but it just to me like it's the next evolution. Like to me, PlayStation controllers have progressively gotten better. With that said, now that you bring up those points that I forgot about, I might have swapped my rankings with the PS2 and PS3. It's too late now. I've locked it in. Like I ranked PS2 at number 11 and PS3 at 10. I might honestly swap. In retrospect, I might actually swap that. So I
Yeah,
can.
it's your show. You do what you want.
Well, I mean, I locked it in. It's too late.
Oh, okay.
I'm committing it. I'm committing to
Okay.
it. But Mick, you ranked it the highest out of all of us. So let's hear your thoughts on it.
Uh, so it took a step back. When you look at, kind of a lot of what you guys have already said, the 6-axis feature was also not great. I appreciate what they were trying to do, incorporate some motion controls, sort of. But the only game that I can think of off the top of my head that really utilized it was Layer, which is not a bad game. It's just also not a great game, particularly like having to use the six
Yeah.
axis and
Folklore and Heavenly
oh,
Sword, I think, did
yeah,
too.
Folklore did have it because you would do
Yeah.
like the snap or whatever when you
Yeah,
tried
yeah.
to it was
And
the
Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction did use the 6-axis.
okay, so like a lot of the earlier a lot of the earlier games.
And
then.
Uncharted 1 with the stupid fucking balancing thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So Six Axis just wasn't great. And again, it was
No.
just sort of a step back from where we left PlayStation 2. Where, again, I'm never going to say like, oh, the DualShock is the thing because I need the rumble. But it did make the controller feel much cheaper because it was so much lighter than what we were used to. Ergonomically, it's fine. Again, the D-pad is kind of what it is. Like it's the thing that's always until I would argue like the PlayStation 5 has not traditionally been too good. But yeah, it was just a step back. When you're talking about the original, like I do think once you get like a DualShock PlayStation 3 controller, it's a little bit of a better situation. The battery thing is a pain in the ass. But yeah, that's really it. We just kind of took 2 steps backwards, and the 6-axis just not great. I appreciate the attempt. It's just not great.
By the way, I'm sorry I made it sound like the PlayStation 3 is worse than the PS1. I was being over dramatic. I was very high on this controller until about 2 years ago, and then it just all fell apart. That's why I have it where it's at. Yeah,
I'll say this: we didn't get the boomerang controller. So
I would have loved that.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like it was right there. We had the futuristic boomerang controller that we didn't get. So that's the other knock against it.
Stole it from us.
That stupid fucking boomerang. Oh my god! All right, for myself, to close out this round, I'm trying to see. Is it you know what? It is another discussion round. We were so close to a triple discussion. I'm here, no surprise, because I heavily alluded to it last time. The NES is where I put this. I put NES over here at number 12 for me, or it's not number 12. That's the points that it got. At number 8, it earned 12 points. Anyway, number 8. I'm losing the goddamn thread. I put it number 8. I'll kick this one off. I put it up here because it's a classic. Part of it is definitely like legacy is why I put it where I did. But with that said, even as an adult, I don't find this controller uncomfortable, and I don't know why. It's not ergonomic. It's a fucking brick. That's all it is, but it works. I don't know why it works. It just works. The weight feels nice. The buttons have always been responsive. It also, like, once again, to give it legacy points, it's standardized so many things about games going forward. Whether it's the D-pad, the how the like the placement of the A and B buttons, just even the naming schemes of some things, like it just, I don't know, it's an iconic controller. It's the visual design of it just looks cool. I still like how the NES controller looks. It also allows for lots of fun, like if you want to put like stickers or decals, it's easy to do because it's a flat surface. It's not like when you have like you put stickers on your controllers now and it's like you have this rounded edge and then it's hard to get it flat if you're bad at putting stickers on, like apparently I am. But yeah, I don't know. I like the NES controller a lot, man. It still holds up all these years later. And that's not even nostalgia talking. I didn't grow up with an NES. I've said before, my first console was the N64. So if we're going by nostalgia, Nintendo 64 would have been way fucking higher than some of the other ones. Like I never even played a TurboGrafx 16 and I ranked it above the N64. So yeah, the NES just, I don't know, man. I love it. Mick, I'll throw it over to you next.
I think really it ranked where it did for me is, like you said, a lot of it's nostalgia, but it's not that it's a bad design in any way, shape, or form. It's just sort of, we have other things that have improved on the design as we've gone along. And, and just for that, it kind of knocks it down a few pegs, but it's not a bad controller whatsoever. And I think I'm most impressed when you look at a lot of the NES games, you're only dealing with really 2 buttons and then, the D-pad. It's impressive what games were able to use with those limitations. Like the amount of stuff that 2 buttons was able to have you do is pretty impressive. So it's a classic, man. You can't beat it. But again, we've just refined it as we've gone along.
Not to beat a dead horse here. Everything you all said. Again, I'm a D-pad guy. D-pad here is great. I think the only thing that really holds it back, and this would also apply to the TurboGrafx controller as well, is as the NES started getting closer and closer into the 16-bit generation, even before it got there, you could tell that the amount of buttons on the controller started getting in the way by the amount of combinations you would have to do with buttons in certain games as games continue to progress and evolve and become more complicated, which, good, generally a good thing, but the simple games are always the ones you want to go back to when you play the Nintendo. But yeah, this is a classic controller. It works. It's not ergonomic. It doesn't feel that way. I agree with you here, Josh. It doesn't feel that way when you first pick it up. And it's a lot more ergonomic than a Famicom controller, by the way, which is just weird because it's like rounded and everything. But besides that, for extended play, it does start to not feel as good. But I also understand that when the system came out, extended play wasn't necessarily something that people were doing with it. This was a game system that was meant to be played in relatively short bursts, nothing more than 30 minutes to an hour. So I can definitely see why it wouldn't be designed necessarily with ergonomics in mind, whereas later consoles would put that to task as people started having longer and longer play sessions. So I definitely agree with Mick's point here, in which he says it's not low because I don't think it's I wouldn't even call this low. This is midway through, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's at the position where it's at, not because it's a bad controller, but just because other people learned so much from it and capitalized
Improved.
on its design, and everything improved. But we wouldn't have those controllers without this one. So I think that definitely needs to be stated. But yeah, this is a great start. And if you compare it to its contemporaries, the Sega Master System, it's like nothing comes close in the 8-bit generation. Nowhere near it.
And the only thing that kind of, because the TurboGrafx 16 was a weird midpoint, right, between 8 and 16-bit. Would you say?
Yeah,
I know it's considered
that, yeah.
16-bit, but even then, it just copied the NES, which is why I put it one rank below.
Yes.
The NES. I couldn't put it higher, even if it was a better controller. I'm like, you it's kind of like the PS3 and PS2 thing that we were talking about before, where it's like it's just a PS2 controller with a little bit extra. That's about it.
Yeah. Why mess with something that works?
Exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Nope.
Yeah. Let's move on up to rank number 7, our 7th overall. Chris, throwing it over to you.
Discussion time.
Oh,
Wii U gamepad.
I am very surprised this is as high for you as to be honest. I'm going to start off with you, Chris, because since you ranked it the highest, I'm very curious as your thought process. I don't hate this thing. I put it lower just because I found it a little cumbersome, but Wii U gamepad, in the same vein as the N64 controller, gets a lot of fucking shit. And I don't understand entirely why. I don't think it's entirely deserved, but I'll spare my thoughts onto that. I want to hear from you first, Chris. Why did you rank it where you did, and what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, I think it's a very forward-thinking controller, and it still does things today that a lot of the other consoles try to do, but just quite can't. One of the biggest reasons here that this impressed me before I get to the general controls is it really doesn't really have much to do with gaming at all, even though there are gaming elements. But when it had Netflix and Hulu, and there was like some sort of TV capture device on it, like it was really fucking cool. You could put the movie on your screen and still scroll around on your Wii U gamepad, being able to look for shows or change what you need to depending on what app you were using. You could use it as a TV remote, which doesn't sound like you would care about that today, but that was still something that was actually pretty cool back when this system came out, I think in 2012, when we still had things like cable boxes. Just the overall ability to have a screen in front of you and have it link up to your TV screen, and them being two different images and having them I can't say that word. When you have two different images at the same time, asynchronous, there it is, and having them link that way, I just find that massively appealing. And I don't think enough games really took advantage of that. But being able to have a map on a screen while having the gameplay on your TV, that's just so cool, man. And no one else is really doing that. I don't know if anyone else really has done that in a directly linked first party way. Not to mention the controller itself feels like a really premium set of equipment. It's heavy,
Yeah.
it's sturdy, it's durable. The analog sticks, even though they're weird, they're because they're on top, which no one else has done, both on top except for Nintendo. It just works, especially if you're doing a lot of 3D games that mostly manipulate the movement with the left analog stick and the camera with the right one. You're not using the D-pad enough, and even if you are, it's not inconveniently located below the analog stick. It's right there. The buttons feel good. The D-pad feels good. Now the start and select buttons are in a weird place, but they're not too inconveniently located. And it's shaped to fit into your hand. Like it's
Yeah.
literally designed to go into your hand. The biggest weakness with the Wii U gamepad, by the way, and I understand why it's not there, is that it doesn't have analog triggers, and that is a big weakness.
Mhm.
And there's no way around that. I think that the Pro controller doesn't even have analog triggers. I think they're digital as well, and that's a flaw. Also, the battery life doesn't last long. You can buy an
No,
additional
it's like
battery.
2 or 3 hours or some shit
Yeah,
like.
it's not that long. I keep mine plugged in, unfortunately. It kind of defeats the point, but you can't like go too far away from your system and it won't respond anymore. I mean, you can go a decent distance. It's not as short as people say. And replacing the battery is not that difficult if you can find one. If they're more popular, I'm sure you'd be able to find them. But I think that it's novel concept. It's really premium feeling design, professional feel, ergonomic feel, sturdiness, and guess what? This little portable screen doesn't drift, unlike a later system would, the successor. So I really I understand why it gets shit because it's weird. I just don't think, and I don't think people were prepared for it. One more thing that I like about it is that you can play your game off screen if
Yes.
you need to. Like other people can use the TV and you can play it off
Mhm.
screen, and then you can immediately transfer to the screen while using the same controller in your hands. You don't got to transition to another controller. Very smart. I wish that it like the Switch incorporated more aspects of it. I understand why they didn't. I actually think from a profitability and business standpoint, the Switch was the more correct decision, and obviously, but I really like what the Wii U did. I think I don't understand the hate for this joypad at all. The gamepad at all. I just think people weren't ready for it. People don't completely understand it, and people didn't really explore all the functionality of what it had to offer when it was available.
Mm. I am 100% with you. I think I ranked it lower just because mainly just because the other controllers felt more comfortable to me. But I think it's hard to, man, the points you bring up make me think of something that makes the Wii U gamepad super interesting. How can you, a lot of times I'm trying to separate, my thoughts on a console from the controllers for some of these, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm not the biggest Sega Saturn fan, not because I think the system's bad. I just don't know enough of the games on it.
Mhm.
Also like we haven't gotten to where I rank the Genesis yet. I I would rank the Genesis a lot lower than the consoles that I've already ranked their controllers for. So I tried to separate that out here. The Wii U presents a really interesting problem with that because it's so intrinsically tied to the system uh, in ways that you would never really, you haven't seen before or since, right?
Mhm.
So part of me puts it down low because it's like, well, it's, other controllers are more comfortable, but this is all part of the system. I'm with you on that. I don't understand where the Wii U gets why it gets so much hate. I understand why it failed. It was a confusing naming scheme. There's a whole bunch of like poor business decisions that went into it. They didn't do a good job of marketing it in terms of like
Oh,
explaining what
horrible
you can
job.
do with it. What honestly sold me on the Wii U was Nintendo Land. Watching their like I watched a video of, I don't know if any of y'all remember Freddie W, which is now Rocket Jump, the YouTube channel Rocket Jump. They did the video game high school or whatnot. They had like a LAN party like channel series, and one of the first ones they did was right when the Wii U came out, and they played Nintendo Land together. And watching how like the you could have 5 people playing on the screen, 5 people playing at once, 4 people on with Wiimotes, and 1 person with the gamepad, and that asynchronous gameplay that you were talking about, Chris. Like, it really created some unique experiences that were genuinely good and fun. And you could only do that with the Wii U gamepad because of having that screen built in to the main controller, and having like other stuff add on to the on the side. It made some really cool experiences, and it bothers me that people just look at the sales numbers and be like, oh, it's a flop, therefore, like, okay, it's not even worth looking at. When, if it wasn't worth looking at, why are some of the most popular games on the Switch? Like, for a long time, Mario Kart 8 I believe it still is the highest selling Switch game, period. And that was
Yes.
originally based on the Wii U game, right? Like,
Yes.
they ported so many Wii U games over to the Switch because they knew the games were good. The software overall was pretty solid on the Wii U, with first party software. Third party,
Yeah.
which you're always going to risk when you have like a unique controller layout, a controller experience. That's how it's always been. You look at we already mentioned the N64. When it's a weird or different controller experience, it's a lot harder for third parties to really kind of understand the best way to play with them. But the Wii U gamepad, I've always been very impressed by, just for what it tried to do and what it could have been. I ranked it
Oh.
lower just because I like it's bulky for a good reason. It's a screen, but like, that's just not my personal preference. But I think taking the controller part of it away, the physical control part away from that, I respect the Wii U so much, and the Wii U controller is intrinsically built into the system in a way that's so different than anything else. But I really love this system.
Oh, I think it's the only LCD screen that naturally accepts a Wiimote input.
Like you what?
You can use a
Yeah.
Wiimote on the Wii U screen.
Oh, so you can.
Oh,
Oh,
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Wow, that's really cool. So like, you could point at the Wii U screen and have it, like, the cursor show up.
You can play Dead Space Extraction on your Wii U gamepad.
It's so fucking. The Wii U is awesome. I'm tired of all this Wii U slander out there.
See, that leads into what I was gonna say. The one thing I say about the Wii U gamepad, that's you guys kind of said without saying this, missed opportunity. That's all it is. You know, just I think that's the Wii U in general. Is it's not that it's bad. It was just a lot of unfortunate and missed opportunity. I think the gamepad is awesome. It's a great idea, but it's just one of those things that just didn't get quite utilized in enough ways that allowed it to flourish and thrive. So that's really the only reason why I ranked it where I did. Is it's not that it's bad, it's just, man, it just didn't get as good of a chance and opportunity as it maybe should have. But that's the Wii U in general.
By the way,
Yes.
it's Pro Controller, second best Pro Controller that Nintendo has released.
What's the first? Is it the Switch?
Switch 2.
Switch 2. I don't have a Switch 2 yet. I'll have to save up for one still.
Get one before they raise the price.
I won't have time. I won't be able to, unfortunately. But all right. So the Wii U gamepad, that is man, the Wii U deserves more love. Like, once again, it's got the AVGN effect. Not that the AVGN talked about it. Unfortunately, I'm using his moniker as the synonymous with all this stuff.
He's running out of stuff.
He'll get there. So, Mick, your 7th ranked controller.
Super Nintendo.
That is an early call for the Super Nintendo.
I know, but
we
have
words later, sir.
I know it's not a lack of love. It's just when you start looking at what's left, I feel like
I see where you're coming from.
For my next one, I actually just did a quick re-ranking because I realized I want to switch something. It's I believe, is this going to be? Yes, indeed it is. This is going to be a discussion round. We're going to talk about the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh, finally.
Hey, yeah. I have one if I could go first, because I won't take long. The great thing about the Dreamcast is that it's perfect for fighting games. It just because of the way the the joystick is. It works great with like Street Fighter and Rival Schools and Soul Calibur, like so many great fighting games. The controller, the input is great for motion. So again, that's like your Street Fighter and Capcom games, basically. Yeah, motion control or the motions, because you Hadouken and stuff like that, and it translates over very well, in my opinion, particularly for Soul Calibur as well.
I will go next then, only because I ranked it the highest out of all of us. I don't have a lot of I've played the Dreamcast. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for the system for any particular reason, but the reason I ranked it so high is, all honesty, I just like how the controller feels in my hands. The joystick is bad. I will not lie about that. The joystick is bad, but I've never had many other issues. I also love when you have the memory card, the whatever the name of the card is. I can't remember it.
VMU.
The VMU in, and how you can like look down and see little animations on there. I know that's not technically part of the controller. It's a weird thing where it's a separate thing and whatever. But I like that it's built in, that you could see the screen of it. I don't know. Looking back on it, I think maybe I ranked this higher just because of like the Dreamcast fanaticism that you see online. But I don't know. Like every time I've played it, I've had a good time playing the Dreamcast. My two biggest gripes for this, and now that I'm re-ranking all this in the fly, I'm like, maybe I should put the NES higher than this. But anyway, the only reason my only two gripes with it, the controller cord is at the worst fucking spot ever.
Yeah.
It's at the bottom of the controller, so it's like facing in towards you, which they did a weird thing where they built like a hook type of like a spot at the front of the controller where you can like kind of put the controller cord up into so it stays away from you, but then you're just cutting down on length of cord that you have available to you for arbitrary reasons. It's very, well, it's not arbitrary, it was the VMU slots, but I'm sure they could have figured fucking something out. Like, I don't know, there's definitely a way that you could have done this that would have been a lot more elegant. And then the joystick is bad, at least from my experience. I've not been a fan of the joystick. But Chris, I'll throw it over to you.
I don't understand either of you. I don't understand either of you right now. Okay. You're saying the joystick is bad. The controller's an elegant.
Fine.
No, it is bad, by the way. I agree. It is a bad joystick. It's slippery, and like the little dots on it, they feel terrible when playing any 3D game, and they don't work in fighting games. You're insane. But I mean, if it works for you,
it worked fine for me.
If it works fine for you, by the way, it does work for Soul Calibur. I will give it that. Like, that's because Soul Calibur is fucking perfect. But okay, if that controller doesn't have any VMUs in it, it's goofy looking, and it's like cheaper than the PS3, which I gave total shit for. It's incredibly light. The start button isn't in the worst location, I guess. The D-pad is a crime against humanity. The D-pad is worse than the Master Systems. That thing is shit. I have scars on my left thumb to this day from playing Marvel vs. Capcom and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I like had divots in my motherfucking thumb from that D-pad because it kept cutting into it. That thing is so sharp and unforgiving. It does not care about you. It doesn't have give. I don't even know why they have one. It sucks. The only thing that's good about it is that it actually resembles the D-pad, unlike the Duke. Holy shit. And it's just like that nub is so slippery. How do you go from the controller, the 3D gamepad on the Saturn, which is essentially the same thing, and take buttons away? How do you do that? And that controller had a good D-pad. Why would you mess with that? The cord was in the right position. You could actually detach the cord on the Saturn 3D gamepad. Like, why did they take steps back? Is my question. It is a direct step back from the 3D control pad for the Saturn, which is okay. Like, the weird nub on it doesn't work the best. I don't think it's really that great. I don't think it's better. I actually don't even think it's better than the Sega's analog stick. But it's like, it's so slippery. Like, I don't really see anything good about this other than the ergonomics. That's it. I mean, you are right, Josh. It feels good in your hands, but it like, there's like a big empty gap in the middle unless you put a memory card in there. Like that's, and then like you have to worry about the controller cord going in and out and flopping around. Like, why is it doing that? I don't know. To look cool. Oh, and if you do have a VMU in it, it beeps at you all the time because that motherfucker can't keep its battery life worth of shit. But that's the VMU. That's not the controller itself. I don't get it. I don't get the love for the system. I'll give, not the system. System deserves love. But there is also a reason why when people have been making controllers for this system since like the retro boom, and you have the retro people making controllers for various systems nowadays, no one ever duplicates the original controller ever. And there's a reason why they even make attachments that you could put VMU into your Dreamcast and then play with a separate controller elsewhere. You want to know why? Because no one wants to play with an original Dreamcast controller. That's when the Retro Fighters controller came out. Everyone said that this is the definitive way to play Dreamcast games. Not with the original piece of shit. You actually have to get a new replacement for it in order to play games the way it was meant to be played. You have to get a 6-button controller with a D-pad that functions in order to play 2D fighting games, of which the Dreamcast has a ton of, and I don't understand how people like me were crazy enough to make our thumbs literally bleed, not metaphorically, playing King of Fighters Dream Match 99. I don't understand it. This controller is shit. There's two redeeming factors. There are two redeeming factors I will absolutely give it. One is that the analog stick has Hall effect, which was way ahead of its time, and the analog triggers are analog. But that wasn't the first time Sega did that, because the 3D gamepad also had analog triggers. So again, they took steps back for no reason. And I feel like it's taken a long time, but I think people are finally waking up, because I think a lot of people just want to defend the Dreamcast. I understand why. It's Sega's last stand, and the people are there for it. But like, I used to criticize the controller and people would get squeamish. And now I finally started people coming out and say, yeah, the controller's complete shit. We can all agree, because now there are alternatives, and those alternatives truly allow people to experience the Dreamcast the way it was meant to be experienced. Fuck it, this controller, bury it right next to the Master System controller, and it unfortunately seems to have expired the Duke, and it should have been the 3D gamepad from the Saturn that did that, because it was an infinitely superior one. Fuck you, Dreamcast controller. Get fucked.
This is in your bottom 4, which you said 15 and up was like where it got good. So I am not surprised by this vitriol. Oh my God.
Literally bleeding thumbs.
Well, that sounds like a you problem, but
yeah, I don't know. It sounds like you need better thumbs.
With that said, though, I'm realizing some of my rankings, and this is not to make peace or anything like that. Some of my rankings is based off of how little or how much experience. I mean, that's for everyone, right? The little experience I have with the Dreamcast, which is little, the controller has always been comfortable for me. I've never had an issue with it. I think that's why it never irked me. And I also have not spent a lot of time with the Dreamcast. I wonder if I would have spent more time with it, I can almost guarantee you this would have been lower. Like, looking back at like some of the stuff I've already ranked, I'd put this in between, probably in where the 13 slot is. I would bump everything up. 13 slot, by the way, was Sega Saturn, and I would put it below Sega Saturn, but above the Duke. That's where I would probably retroactively put it, now that I'm like, one of the amazing things about podcasting, you get to have these conversations, and you get to hear someone lose their shit over a Dreamcast controller. Hey, man.
It's already dead.
Happy. I'm happy I could give you this outlet.
Yeah, there you go, Sega. That's what happens when you release a controller like that. You have the lowest selling console in your entire library outside of the first one you released. Congratulations. Great controller.
Well, Mick, do you have anything else you want to add?
Man, I'm sorry that the Dreamcast apparently killed Chris's entire family, and
it did. You have no idea.
Oh my god, I was
Yeah.
not expecting that level
No,
of
I didn't
vitriol,
either. I'm like,
but
damn, I should have ranked mine lower.
I loved it. I said there has been a few times on podcasts where I accidentally make Chris mad, and this happens, and I enjoy it. Shout out to King of Games. Fucking, I don't want to spoil it in case it's not out yet.
Yeah. Good times.
Very fun times. All right, we are up to our sixth ranked spot. So Chris, we are throwing it over to you for your sixth.
Number 6, and this was a tough one to put this low because I love this controller, but it's the GameCube.
The GameCube. It is a great controller. You might not wait as long as you think. You'll just have to see. Mick, over to you for your number 6.
Sega Saturn.
I believe Chris has not ranked the Saturn yet. So
I have not.
That is not surprising. I know you are a huge Saturn fan.
Yes.
And honestly, when we, never mind. I'll wait till we get to it. For myself, is this going to be a discussion? It is the Sega Genesis.
Ooh, okay.
Hey.
The Sega Genesis. I will start off with this one since I've apparently ranked 2 of Sega's least favorite controllers higher than other people. The reason I put this up where it's at is because honestly, a lot of it's nostalgia. The Sega Genesis was the first console I fell in love with, not the first that I owned, but I remember playing it over at my neighbor's house. I was one of those little shitty brats who would like ask to come over only so I could play their video games. And the Sega Genesis was the system that I would come over to play. And I love this thing. I still love how it feels. I think it feels overall like good in my hands, even with the 3 button things. Even with we're going off the 3 buttons, not the 6 button controller, I still like how it feels. I never had an issue with the only 3 buttons. The only times I ever had issues with it, and I didn't even blame the controller. I always felt it was weird when, like, in retrospect, it makes sense, but like Sonic, the same button, all 3 buttons do the same thing, but realistically, that's the only action you have in Sonic. You can jump, so like, what else are you gonna do? But I don't know. I like the Genesis, man. I like how it feels in my hand still. I like the kind of like slight curved shape to it. I like how sleek it looks. I don't know. There's a lot of nostalgia for it, and that's honestly probably why I ranked it as high as I did. This one I do not regret where I put, though. I really do. I really do like the Genesis.
I second that. I really, really love the Genesis. The only reason why I put it where I did is because we were talking about the 3 button, not the 6 button. Otherwise, it probably would have been higher. I really enjoy the Genesis. And we're not there yet, but I just think the Sega Saturn, similar to how Sony improved as they went down. Until Sega got to a certain controller that will now remain unnamed.
We're not going to bring
never
up
again.
Yeah, I think
don't bring up the Big D.
Yeah, I think the Sega Saturn is the Genesis controller, just better. That's
That's fair. That's fair. Chris, what are your thoughts?
I think the Genesis controller is also representative of where Sega was. I think it's representative of Sega actually starting to take the home console market seriously. We were talking about this when we were going over the Master System controller's D-pad, and Nintendo had the patent, so other companies had to figure out a way to do it. NEC kind of figured it out with the TurboGrafx. I don't think, again, it's as good, but they figured that out. But I think Sega really nailed it in terms of a competitive D-pad, one that they would even improve upon moving forward. But here you could really see that Sega was trying to really get into the home console market, because this D-pad is a great one. It's not the best of the generation. We'll be talking about that soon, but it shows they learned their lesson. I also like the fact that even though they didn't really, they didn't really change the amount of buttons that are on the controller, it feels different. Like, Sega was the first company to really realize, like, why do we need a select button? This is kind of weird. And they didn't need it at the time for all intents and purposes. Having a start button, having the 3 face buttons, and only having those 3 there, it doesn't feel too weird having 3 buttons. It really does work. And how they're all not like in a straight line, but at a little bit of a curve, like your thumb would naturally move. I also like the fact that the controller is decently sized for people with bigger hands. Not ridiculously to the point like
It's
the
no
Duke, but it did recognize it was going after a target audience, which was teenagers and young adults, people who went to the arcades, people who had a little bit more disposable income, just a little bit of an older crowd than maybe Nintendo was targeting, and they made the right controller for that crowd. And I think that shows. And I do think it's a really comfortable controller for the time. I think if they had a little bit more of a back curvature or just a little bit smaller, it would have been perfect, but they knew the audience they were going for, and it's still comfortable to this day. And also taking apart this controller and cleaning it, one of the easiest you can possibly do. I think that'll make Mick happy
I didn't
right
know
there.
that.
Yeah, just with an eraser, you can really go to town with a Sega Genesis controller and fix most of its ills if it's ever giving you any problems. I really love this controller. I think it's very functional. I ranked it a little bit lower than the other ones just because I think those controllers are a little bit more functional, and it is kind of limited in its approach, especially with some later titles. The Super Nintendo would outshine it because it did have 6 functional buttons out of the box, whereas Sega would have to compensate for that later. But I still think for most of Sega's standout titles, much like the N64, they really knew how to make it sing. And I think like most of the titles from that era didn't really have to really concern itself with more than 3 primary buttons. And I think that's why a lot of people can still go back to it and not really have to worry about the 6 button configuration, even if that's the definitive way to go back is the 6 button controller. So yeah, I do love this controller. I think it's great.
It's funny, like the way I kind of look at the 6 button controller, it almost, how can I put this? Most games, like you said, Chris, don't need the 6 buttons. I almost consider the 6 button controller like a comfort button. Like, oh, thank God, I have extra ones in case I need it.
That's fair.
Yes.
Like, it feels like, oh man, I want to make sure I bring plenty of buttons in case I need any extras. And which obviously doesn't make any sense for video games, but that's the vibe I've always felt with it. Like, I just feel more like calm with the 6 button controller, which makes no fucking sense. It's just like it's just like, oh, I have more options here, but most games don't even take advantage of it, so it really doesn't make much of a difference. Like, it was really only useful in fighting games and a handful of others. So like,
well, I think one of the things that's I wouldn't say it's understated because racing games kind of started to peter off, but I think having shoulder buttons in racing games, especially arcade racing games, made those games better on the Super Nintendo, which is ironic because Sega in the arcades and early on was known for their standout racing titles. So I would rather play a racing game on the Super Nintendo because you can lean into those turns appropriately with those shoulder buttons where you cannot do that on a Sega Genesis controller.
yeah, I could see that. Mick, did you get a chance to say anything? I'm sorry if I missed it.
Yeah, no, I didn't really have a whole ton to say about the Genesis. I think it's a great design. I think Chris said it more eloquently than I could have, but I used the 6 button primarily as a kid. I didn't have the 3 button, but I do think it's a fantastic controller. It's good design. It feels good. Like you said, it's big, but it's not too big. It's just a great design.
We're going to move into the top 5 now, and I find it interesting. Another little status report, because I knew this episode was going to run long. I'm not surprised. We're ranking 19 controllers. This is going to take a while. Something interesting that gives a little taste for those keeping track at home. I believe there's only 3 controllers that have not been ranked by any of us yet. I'm not going to say which. But only 3 of them have not been ranked by any of us so far. So we're going to kick off the top 5 here. Chris, what is your 5th favorite controller?
Super Nintendo.
Okay, the Super Nintendo. That is 2 for the Super Nintendo. Mick, throwing it over to you.
Xbox One.
Xbox One. I'm honestly surprised that made it where it was at. I would have expected a little bit higher. All right. The next one here, is it going to be? No, it's not. I am surprised we are up to round 5, number 5, and this is a non-discussion round. I'm surprised we made it this far with only 5 rankings left, including this one, because my number 5 is the GameCube.
All discussions from here on out, then.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's all. We're gonna have all discussions. Eventually, a triple round. I'll be amazed if there's no triple discussion round. We'll see. So, Chris, number 4.
PlayStation 4, appropriately.
PS4 at number 4. First mention of the PS4. All right, Mick, up to you.
It's incredibly tough, I think, now that I'm breaking it all down, but I would say GameCube.
There we go.
GameCube.
Ding, ding, ding.
There is our first discussion. I've been going first for a while. Mick, I want to start off with you, my friend. What's going on with the GameCube and you? What do you love about that controller?
Honestly, I think it's Nintendo's finest hour when it comes to controller design. They finally got it. It's like with GameCube, they sort of said, oh, we see what Sony's doing. We see what Microsoft is doing. We're going to follow suit, but we're going to follow suit in a way that still fits what we want to do. The first real big highlight for me with the GameCube is the way the C buttons are. Phenomenal. Love how that was done. I think it just gives such a great, unique personality. I think the Z button on the GameCube controller is another like great idea. It has sort of that nostalgic feel of like a Super Nintendo controller because there's so many elements that have been incorporated in terms of like button mapping from the Super Nintendo to the GameCube that I think is cool. Something that's sort of dropped off with the 64, like they didn't have like the X or the Y, which is kind of odd now that I think about it. I never really thought about it before. I was like, oh yeah, they did get rid of those buttons on the 64, didn't they? Huh.
Well, they didn't get rid of. They just didn't have them yet.
They just didn't have them. They didn't use them. But you've got.
No, sorry. I'm sorry. Right, they did get rid of them. My bad. I'm losing this thread.
They had Z, but they didn't have X and Y, which is weird when you think about it. But no, I just think the GameCube is it's one of the best. I mean, clearly for me to rank it up at 4, it's tough, especially what I had, like looking what I had left. It was really, really hard. If I was going to put this, or spoilers, PlayStation 2 in this spot. But I went GameCube because I'm a Sony fanboy. So, that got a little bit of the edge. A little bit of objectivity went out the window for fan.
Hey man, that's what I mean. Why do you think the NES, or not even the Genesis, was so high for me? Just something you like, what you like.
Fair. But yeah, GameCube I think is just a fantastic control. I mean, and we're not discussing this, but great system too. Like awesome system, great games. Nothing but great things to say about the GameCube and the controller.
Chris, what about you? Your thoughts on the GameCube controller?
2 reasons I ranked this controller as high as I did. It's a controller that recognizes the exact time that it was released and what kind of games were coming out, and it was perfect for that. And this is probably the most comfortable controller I've ever put in my hands. I don't think there's been any controller I've put in my hands that is as ergonomically comfortable consistently as a GameCube controller. It just gets it. And what I mean by the perfect controller released at the time, I think we can all agree that the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era of games was probably the weakest era of games for 2D games.
Yes, for 2D, yeah.
Yeah. I think that era of gaming was just absolutely abysmal for 2D games. And I mean, it was thriving over there on the Game Boy Advance and the portable scene, for sure.
Eventually the DS, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's probably a big reason why, is because they just viewed it through a different lens instead of saying like, oh yeah, let's put it here on the console. They kept it to the handheld, at least for Nintendo. Like Sony and Microsoft really have no excuse.
No. But if you look at like playing a 3D game in a 3D environment, is there, especially when you think about how 3D games function, especially action games, is there a more appropriate controller than this? I don't think so. Everyone's like, why is the A button a big button? Well, what do you do in most action games? You press one fucking button. Like, everything else is secondary. So as long as you know where it is and you can access it quickly, that's fine. And you can access all of these buttons quickly. But there's one primary button you're going to be pressing most of the time. The most important button should be the biggest button. In theory, if you want to go by that mindset, it doesn't have to be, but it works. It makes sense when you think about it. You have analog and like very definitively analog triggers, even though you don't have a R1. I mean, you don't have an R2 L2. You don't have that going on. You do have the Z button, which is a little flimsy, which probably keeps it from being higher in my list. But I think, again, this is Nintendo recognizing the kind of games Nintendo wants to make. And I think the kind of games Nintendo wanted to make, even though the GameCube didn't take this generation by a country mile, the games they were releasing of the time, I think, are more representative of the time than what you would get from either Xbox or Microsoft. If you really want to talk about a game you want to go back and play. And
I think that's, yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I want to jump onto what you're saying there. I think legacy is a huge part of, and for me, legacy for these controllers is a big part of it. And the GameCube's legacy, that the fact that at Evo today, you still have people that play Smash Brothers with GameCube controllers says everything you need to know about it. Like, there's so many options that people could have gone through in the years, and they still go back to the original GameCube controller. And I think that just speaks volumes for how good the design is. You could argue it's like, I don't know, mechanically, blah, blah, blah. But it's, again, I think that just speaks to how well it's designed, that still there is no preferred method for playing Smash Brothers than with a GameCube controller.
Yeah. It's unfortunate the D-pad is as shitty as it is. It's a terrible D-pad.
Yes.
I think it's the worst D-pad that we're probably talking about today. Oh, maybe
I wouldn't
right
say
above
it's like a Master System.
No, it's better. It's not as good as the Sega Master System. It is better than the Xboxes, the original. The Dukes.
You think it's worse than the Sega Master System's D-pad?
Yeah, because it's so tiny.
Oh, okay. See,
It's the size. Really, it's horrible because of that. Makes playing Game Boy Advance games like really irritating, especially action platformers with the Game Boy player, which is a good reason to own a GameCube. But yeah, and it's you know what? It's a really good controller if you want to use it for RPGs. Because again, what do RPGs do? Confirm. Just roll over, cancel with B. It's right there. It's a little tiny button, but you don't cancel as much as you confirm. Yeah. I really love this controller. It's a really good one.
See, it's funny. I'm the detractor out of the three of us then. I ranked it high because I agree with your points in terms of its legacy, where for the time it came out, for what it was doing, for the games that it's meant for, it is the perfect controller, and it is one of the most comfortable controllers, period. I ranked it higher because I actually took out my personal preference in games out of the equation on this one. Maybe I should do that. I don't know how. Once again, this is not a definitive list. This is all completely subjective and on to at the mercy of your whims. But like for me, I actually prefer the PS2 controller over this. I just think the GameCube controller is a better controller, if that makes sense. And the reason being is the games I played back then were like first person shooters, like the James Bond games I loved, Medal of Honor, which all came out of the GameCube, but that fucking C stick was abysmal for like controlling shit with, because it was like it did not work. It was not meant to be the second joystick. It was meant to be something like what you see
Cameras.
in Smash. Yeah. It just I cannot stand that. I also think that like while there's plenty of buttons for use, it is not necessarily conducive for the types of games I like to play. I never found it very like intuitive for the games that I like to play. Because I was always used to the PS2, I found all like the types of games I like to play, like the third person action games, whether it was an FPS or like Ratchet and Clank or like Jack and Daxter or that type of stuff. It felt better on the PS2 Granted, those were like the ones I mentioned only came out on the PS2, but like because you couldn't have the dual joysticks as efficiently, like you could do it on the GameCube, but it just wasn't as efficient. I just never really preferred the GameCube controller, and I'm also not a giant Smash fan. So like I honestly I'm not a fighting game fan in general. So like it I just don't care
That's okay.
that it's
Smash
comfortable.
Brothers isn't really a fighting game anyway.
I know
That's-
no that'll
no, that's me just rage baiting people. That's not.
No,
I
that's
I
a troll.
really think that.
Don't
Yeah,
feed
like-
the troll.
even with all my gripes with the controller, I can't deny it's good. Like it all like the ergonomics are flawless. I have one controller that I like the feel of a little bit more than this, and we'll get to it as we get higher up. But like the ergonomics are amazing. The tactile sensations of the buttons and and the spacing, everything is really great when it's for a game that it's designed around, or the game designs itself around the controller, I should say. And there's just so much to love about it. And like you said, Mick, it's still used in tournaments. It's still used at Evo for Smash. Like I don't know, like as much as the types of games that I like to play were not conducive for that controller, but I'm not blaming the controller for that. Like it's a really good controller. So I'm still happy where I ranked it, but I'm definitely not as high on it as either of you are.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on. Oh, sorry. I have to list my last one here for the fourth ranking one. This would have been if we put it if I had ranked it where the Xbox remake, the Xbox S controller would be for me. This is where I would have put it if I was ranking it. But that's not what I'm ranking. I'm ranking here the Super Nintendo.
Wow,
We're discussing it.
There it is.
Yes. Super Nintendo is very high for all of us. Chris, I'll throw it over to you to start off this one. I went on a pretty long tangent with the GameCube, so I'll throw it over to you for the Super Nintendo.
I mean, wow, Nintendo knew what they were doing. D-pad guy, once again, phenomenal D-pad. It's just a phenomenal D-pad. A controller that actually, like, I think, where do you get the concept of shoulder buttons from? It has to be you're watching people hold a controller and their fingers are like naturally are going to curve up towards the top. Why not put shoulder buttons on there? And such an ingenious decision. And not every game uses it, but the games that do use it smartly, and it feels natural. And the one thing I like about the Super Nintendo controller over what has happened with controllers over the ages is I don't have to worry about a second button behind the front button. I just have to worry about one button up there. I don't have to worry about being analog. It's digital. The buttons, everything about the amount of buttons on the controller feels appropriate for the time, especially 2D games. Not many 2D games require anything more than what is being offered here. The button layout that it essentially originated, where you can press B and Y are essentially your jump and attack buttons, and that just feels natural as hell with the angle of what your thumb is. It works in a variety of 2D games. Just right in line with what the system was having to offer. It's ergonomic, feels natural, extremely durable, and I don't know, man, it's iconic. It's one of the most iconic 2D in terms of iconography. I think this is the most iconic 2D controller ever created, and it's that way for a damn reason. It's really fucking good, and I think it's the second best 2D controller ever created, hands down. And it's a lasting legacy. There's a reason why people love the Super Nintendo. There's a reason why it continues to endure over the Sega Genesis. And I think it's because this controller in and of itself was a giant step up, enough for Capcom to kind of capture the entire gaming world for a year with Street Fighter 2. That because this controller made that possible. The controller made that possible. Like, they could have put they did put Street Fighter 2 on every other system of that generation, PC Engine, not TurboGrafx. Well, they put Street Fighter on the TurboGrafx, but different story. Street Fighter 2 on the Sega Genesis as well. And those companies, NEC and Sega, had to release a 6-button controller in response because of what this controller allowed. So in
Mhm.
terms of legacy and iconography, it takes it right there. And just in terms of comfort, I think for the 16-bit generation, there's no question this is the definitive 2D controller. And just how it was a step up in progress, how it feels. I don't know. I'm repeating myself. I'm just going to say great controller. It's here and I love it.
I am 100% with you on that. I mean, obviously, I'm the one who ranked it the highest. For me, it's not even nostalgia either, man. Like I said before, the Genesis was like my like entry into home consoles by going over to my neighbor's house. But the Super Nintendo in years since has won my heart in the 16-bit era, mainly just because the games vibe more with me, but also the controller just it's so comfortable still. It still feels good in your hands. The fact that it's thinner at the bottom and thicker. It's thicker, baby, towards the
Ooh.
back, towards the top, and that that ergonomic feel because of it. And it's interesting, kind of in the same vein as the NES controller, where like it's a simple shape. It's more ergonomic than the NES controller by far because it's rounded edges, the how it like kind of is shaped to fit hands a little bit better. Um, it still works. The buttons, like all like the once again the tactile sensation of the buttons, it just feels really good. I'm pretty sure 2 of the buttons are convex and 2 of the buttons are concave, right, or something like that.
Yes. A and
Uh,
B are convex and X and Y are concave, which is actually a change from the Super Famicom controller.
oh, then is it reversed over there?
No, they're all convex.
Oh, interesting.
It's more
Um,
colorful, but yeah, they're all convex.
I always like the colors of the Super Famicom.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty.
always thought that was cooler. But no, I really like this controller, man, and it was so versatile. You could do everything, whether it was an action game, an RPG, a fighting game, like racing game, like everything worked for it. It wasn't like my biggest criticism with the GameCube was that it only worked for the games that were really like geared towards it. It didn't work for other games that were like, especially dual joystick games. I mean, it could play it, it once again, it didn't work as well for me, at least personally. um but like the Super Nintendo, it just works with everything. It's still comfortable, and on top of that, like I can't imagine like anytime I play Mario World in some other form, whether it's on like the Switch or some other port of it, it does not feel right without the Super Nintendo controller in my hands. It just does not. And once again, that's not nostalgia talking. That's just how I feel after playing it. So I love the Super Nintendo, man. I the only reason I didn't rank it at number one, like higher than what it is because of the other controllers just feeling more comfortable. Like this one is just, I think this is one of the more versatile controllers out there, especially just for pure economy of
Mhm.
like it uses everything. All the buttons are in use on the system in some way, shape, or form. It's not like there's a gimmick somewhere on it where like like the I was going to say the Vita, even though that's not a console, but like there's systems that have like kind of the 6-axis on the PS3, right? There's a
Mhm.
gimmick built into it that's not needed and it's not really used and it's not it's not great. The Super Nintendo is there's no fat on it. It's just trim. I love this controller so much. Mick, you ranked it the lowest out of all of us, so I'm putting you last so that way you can defend yourself for the sacrilege of putting it. No, I'm just kidding. But you put it
It
at number
really
7.
is. Well, I think again, it's a fantastic controller. The legacy speaks for itself. I mean, you guys had great points, and it's where it is on the list for me, not because of quality or anything. It's just like when you're comparing it against other things, that's why it fell a little bit. It's not that I think it's bad in any way, shape, or form. I think it's fantastic. It's also great because if somebody's not experienced with games, they don't feel out of their depth when you hand them this controller. Like it's
Mhm.
fairly easy for them to pick up
Yeah.
what does what in a game. Almost all the buttons are laid out in a way in the majority of the games that are very clear and very sensical, and it just makes sense in terms of like, oh, you press this button because you use it the most. You press this button because you use it the least, and the way it's mapped and things like that. It's fantastic. Again, it just got pushed down because when you're comparing against some other stuff, just inevitably something's got to fall. So for me, it was the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, in your top 7, how terrible.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I know, especially considering below it are Sega Saturn, which has not been officially discussed yet, Xbox One, which has not been officially discussed yet, and also GameCube, which was just discussed last round. So it's like it's in good company where it's at.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna piss people off with my number one.
Oh, I'm
Good.
sure it's the
It's the
PS2.
hottest it
But I'm
takes.
excited.
Yeah.
All right, so Chris, top 3. We're into the top 3 now. So Chris, your third ranked controller.
Xbox 360.
That is the first mention of Xbox 360 so far. All right, Mick, over to you.
PlayStation 2.
Oh, I was expecting that to be higher.
Yeah.
We are going to discuss the PS2. It looks like, yeah, everyone has mentioned it. I actually ranked it the lowest out of all of us, which is surprising. I'll kick this off first. The only reason I ranked it where I did was because, like I said, I would have reversed PS2 and PS3 in retrospect after some of Chris's points, but just it was. I ranked it there because it's a no nonsense control. I don't know. Maybe I should have ranked it higher, but to me, it didn't necessarily reinvent the wheel, but it perfected the wheel, if that makes sense. Like it took the DualShock on the PS1 and just perfected it, which that is saying something. But like the other, I haven't ranked another PlayStation controller yet, which I clearly list higher. So I don't know. Like I like the PS2 controller a lot, but I think I ranked it as low as I did because I was worried that my PS2 nostalgia, which is very strong, like I feel like the PS2 is arguably in my top, maybe my favorite system of all time, in the top 3. Maybe I'm not quite. I haven't done a ranking of that in a while, but like. I was trying. Like, I felt like my love of the PS2 overshadowed my love of the controller, which just are kind of like it's really good. It's a really really good controller. It just I don't know. I like the others a little bit more. So we'll do it in order of ranking. I started off here. Chris, you ranked it the next highest. So what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, phenomenal controller. Sony, like this is the successor really to the DualShock when you think about it, but when you compare it to where PlayStation started, much like the Genesis, Sony realized that they were now a console manufacturer. They were in this for the long haul, and the DualShock 2 really does everything it needs to do. Is it really that much of an improvement over the original DualShock? I would argue not really. That's why I say if like we included the original DualShock in here, I think the DualShock would be right next to the PS2, if not a little bit higher, just because PS2 had some weird gimmicks. The DualShock 2 had some weird gimmicks like analog pressure sensitive face buttons and sort of analog, shoulder buttons, but they were mostly implemented pretty poorly. But if you go aside from that, as much as I think that the GameCube is the right controller for the games that I think people want to go back and play, the PlayStation 2 controller is the game that is the controller that defined a generation of consoles and is attached to the most popular console of all time. This is one of the most versatile controllers ever made. And while I would probably prefer a little bit longer of a control handle in terms of ergonomics, there's nothing wrong with the ergonomics. Like that's just a nitpick. I think they really nailed it with the curvature of what's going into the R1 and R2, L1, L2 buttons in order for players to utilize that. The both of the analog sticks underneath, it's not my personal preference, and you'll see as we get into the rankings that is not the case, but it does work really well, and it really set the standard for what to expect in terms of gaming and what players came to expect. So I don't think there's any denying the importance of the PlayStation 2 controller. I think almost every gamer on the planet is familiar with this layout. Anyone can pick up and play it. And it is also one of the most durable controllers. I wish I could find an OEM on the market that is affordable. The fact that you can't, and you can find an affordable controller on almost any of the 8 and 16-bit consoles, maybe that actually speaks negative about its durability, but maybe that speaks more to the fact that people want to hold on to them. and they're harder to find in that good condition. I don't know. Maybe I'm just shot myself in the foot by making that statement. Who knows? But I love a lot of it's probably nostalgia, and a big part of it is it just works. It just works, and it works extraordinarily well. And developers were developing their games around this controller because why wouldn't they? It wasn't just the biggest show in town with the PlayStation 2. In many ways, it was the only show in town. So yeah, great controller, great because a lot of it's circumstances, but I mean, that's not because the controller was bad, but it just married up with a lot of things that were happening. And I love it. Great controller.
All right.
You're talking about the most commercially successful system of all time. I don't feel like it's an exaggeration to say that probably anybody who's ever played a video game has played a PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
This controller kept the same relative design from the PlayStation 1, but just made it better. And again, you talk about legacy. That's another reason why I have it so high on my list. Granted, my number one, this was in a serious debate for myself to make this my number one. Like, that's how strong I feel this controller is, because again, like, you can't argue with the numbers, and the PlayStation 2 is the most commercially successful system of all time. A big part of that is if the controller isn't as good, that doesn't happen, because people are, at that point, Microsoft can jump in and snag the market share. Nintendo can jump in, Dreamcast could have, like, there was opportunity for other manufacturers to try and, but again, I think the design and the ease of use just really made it a go-to for a lot of people. So yeah, I just love it. I think it's great. The legacy speaks for itself, and yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
PS2 fucking rules, man. It
really does. Like, what a great, I mean, my personal preference is PlayStation 1 just because of all the JRPGs that I played on it, but PS2 is just the Titan, man. Like, there's another one we're going to talk about soon that I feel like you could make an argument for, but I think PS2 still, again, numbers don't lie.
I mean, even taking out the sales numbers, it just, like, I don't know. I have so many good memories of just sitting down and playing like Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy X and Medal of Honor Frontline, and like, the list goes on. Like, there's a game for
Metal
everyone
Gear.
on that system. Metal Gear. There's just so much. Just holding the PS2 controller in my hands makes me feel happy. It just feels good still, and that's definitely nostalgia talking. But I don't care. It's awesome. Which is wild that I ranked it as low as I did. I really divorced myself a lot from my nostalgia.
You really did.
I'm very curious to see your number 3 here.
My number 3 actually is the same as Chris's number 3. It is the Xbox 360, which we will discuss in probably pretty soon. You have only 2 more chances for it.
There's not a lot left.
Gee.
So Chris, your number 2 overall controller.
I guess this gives away my number 1. Well, I wouldn't for everybody here, but my number 2 is the Xbox One.
I'm honestly surprised by now that I know what your number 1 is, which we're still going to save it. We can't discuss it yet, but I'm actually, like, I knew, never mind. We'll wait for it. Mick, for your number 2.
Xbox 360.
We're going to have a discussion. Yes. The Xbox 360. Mick, you haven't started off a round in a little bit. Let's send it over to you, my friend.
It's very similar in the vein of PlayStation 2 in terms of the amount of people that played this controller, the amount of life that these controllers got, the fact that you can plug them up into a PC and use them is phenomenal. The reason I gave it the nod over the Xbox One is just simply because of the legacy. And yeah, I'm going to break my own rule obviously my number 1 is what it is now, but
these lists are all over the damn place. I ranked the Dreamcast way too goddamn high, and I readily admit that. I don't hate it as much as Chris, but I ranked it way too damn high.
Die!
Yeah, I think the 360 it's a great design. really the only negative is, man, it's kind of a pain in the ass when the batteries die. Like I
Yeah.
like that you can swap them out. And yes, there is the rechargeable pack. And again, like but that's just the inherent nature of a wireless controller. But it's just a really solid design. It feels really good. Like the triggers especially, and obviously Microsoft Halo being kind of their flagship title, and then 360 also introduced us to Gears of War. Those games feel incredibly great with that controller, just from in terms of like button layout and placement. Just the rumble feature that was built in, because Sony was like, people don't care about that. Well, it turns out they do, actually. And Microsoft jumped on it. So yeah, it's great. It's a great controller. I have cleaned more 360 controllers, probably. No, I've cleaned more PS2 controllers than anything. But yeah, 360 is definitely number 2. And holy shit, those things get gross. But yeah, awesome controller. And I'm really excited to talk about my number 1.
I'll go next then. For the 360, for me, I put it up at number 3 because I think it is one of the most well-designed controllers. I have very little nostalgia for the 360. At the time the 360 was out and leading up, I would say up until maybe like 2020 even, I was a Sony fanboy. Sony was like, I loved the PS2, the PS3, the PSP, the PS Vita, like all that shit. Like I ate all that shit up. So the 360, I kind of was like, well, it's not a PS3, but it's fine, I guess. I was always kind of cranky about it. But with all that said, I could not deny how fucking good the controller was and is. It is so comfortable in your hands. The button layout and the joystick layout is perfect. Everything just fits perfect. You never like it. To me, it was like to me, for the time being, now obviously there's 2 controllers I like more. It was a controller perfected. It was like a controller for 3D gaming perfected, because it just, everything just worked about it. Like I can't describe how good it feels in your hands. Like to me, this is like, for what you all said about the GameCube, how perfect that felt. To me, that was the 360 when I first got to actually play it. And I liked it begrudgingly because I was a Sony fanboy. I'm like, well, fucking, it's not a PS3. No, it's a good controller.
As a Sony fanboy, it pains me to say it, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's a good controller. It's a really good controller. It's one of the controllers out of everything Microsoft and Xbox has done since the 360. The controllers are the only really good thing they've done.
That's true. Yeah, I'll jump in here. I think what I discovered here is I'm a bigger fan of having the offset analog sticks than having Sony's more centralized ones. I think the offset analog sticks are way more comfortable. I think they just make more sense, especially, again, when you consider the kind of games that were coming out in the Xbox 360 era, and they were kind of leading up to that at the end of the previous generation, the first-person shooters, the more directly action-oriented 3D games, and then games that finally knew how to use the second analog stick. The D-pad here is fucking terrible, but I think it makes up for it. It's not as bad as like the Duke. And again, this isn't a generation where necessarily 2D games were something that you needed to necessarily be concerned of. The trigger buttons, the shoulder buttons, they're just designed exactly how they should be, in my opinion. Like, it really feels like an analog shoulder button, and then you have the front ones that like Sony kind of did with the LB and RBs, and like not the meats, but the button. And you got like they're very responsive, they're very clicky, and I actually think between all of the versions of the Xbox 360 controllers, of course, there's the ones that you can dial and get the actual D-pad that isn't as bad, but I think the most valuable kind of and underrated when it came out is the wired Xbox 360 controller, because that's something that you can plug into anything. You don't have to worry about a charging port not working. You don't have to worry about losing a battery pack falling off. You just got to plug that thing in and go for it. Also, yeah, it helps to replace the analog sticks after a while or put a cover on it, because those things do wear out over time, and they wear out pretty quickly. But so if you can replace those, that works out too. But again, this isn't a system that's necessarily really hard to work on or get into, or I mean, maybe Mick can talk to this more, but I didn't have a problem with that whatsoever when I've dealt it with my own controllers personally. So very versatile, really. And like for the first time, it's one of the controllers that really got PC gamers and console gamers somewhat on the same playing field. For a long time, like PC gamers were all just mouse and keyboard, and like they would kind of hold up their nose at any sort of controller. So and this is the first controller that was really adopted by the PC community, not necessarily for first person shooters. They are snobs there, but in terms of all other games, like this was the first one that they were like, okay, we kind of see what you console gamers are talking about. Like, you have something good here. So it's, yeah, I think this controller, it fits perfectly in your hand, and it's very representative of the era that it came out in. Most popular console in North America during that time as well. Well, except for the Wii. If we want to talk about commercially viable consoles and the controller has to go along with it, well, I have to kind of look at your rankings, guys. But yeah, I mean, the 360 was really a special one.
Yeah, man. I the 360 is it's a great. I look back on it now and I really like the system. I was definitely very like, well, the Sony fanboy was getting the better of me at the time. But my ranking for number 2 is another discussion. We have the Xbox One.
There we are.
And that's 3 votes for Xbox One. I'll tell you why I put it a little bit higher than the 360. It was like the 360, but one step more comfortable. That's how I kind of felt about the Xbox One. I like everything about the controller, I thought was just like a step better. Just like it felt slightly more comfortable in my hands. The buttons felt slightly more tactile, like tactilely better to feel, if that makes any sense. The joysticks felt just like one step a little bit better to control. Like, I don't know, the Xbox One, like I put it above the 360 just because it just felt like one notch higher in terms of like every metric. It just like a slight step up. But I don't know, what are your thoughts, Chris?
Oh, exact same thing. Take everything I said about the 360 and say it's improved. That's what the Xbox One is. And I think the series controllers are that again. Like, they kept making small improvements, even more smaller than what Sony did, and just capitalized on all the strengths of what the previous one did. It's a slightly more ergonomic. Buttons, as you said, are more tactile. And you now have a charging cable instead of some sort of proprietary cable for wireless and PC gaming. It still has the battery adaptability slot. This is the standard controller, in my opinion. This is like the modern standard controller. In terms of compatibility, versatility. And I would say that would actually be replaced by the series. And that's how much I think about the Xbox Series controllers. Yeah, it's just right there. It's just incredibly dynamic and versatile. I think it deserves all the praise. Xbox 360 controller, but better. There you go.
Mick, what are your thoughts? You actually ranked it below the 360.
I did. The only reason is just because of the legacy of the 360. It's the only reason why.
That's valid.
I think objectively the Xbox One is better. It's an improvement, but I just didn't want to ignore the legacy. And then I'm going to list you my number 1. You're going to be like, "Oh, wait," and I'm like,
"No, we already know."
Yeah, I think you obvious. And I have the same number 1. Actually,
yeah, you do. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I already know Chris's number 1. So you know what? Let's just go right into it. Let's go into round 1. Chris, I think we all know, if for those keeping score at home, you should be able to tell. But Chris, what's your number 1?
Sega Saturn.
That honestly, like I'm not surprised you ranked it high. I'm surprised it beat out like the Xbox One and the Xbox, like controllers that are like, to me, just feel so much better. But I'm curious, like I want to hear your thoughts, man. I know you're a huge Sega Saturn fan. Shout out you're also your series over on your Patreon for that too.
Yeah. IO Saturnalia, where I'm trying to play all the North American games, and I'm falling woefully behind. Now I'm running into technical issues. Damn you, all technology. But yeah, why is the Saturn so high for me? I think this is the best 2D controller ever made for 2D games. And what do I like? I like retro games. And if I'm going to be playing a retro game, I'm going to want to be playing it with the best control. I want to be playing it with the best D-pad. I want to be playing it with the most responsive buttons. All of those things come with the Sega Saturn controller. I think this is the definitive controller for the 2D experience. I understand. This is where I was talking about, like with the PlayStation controller, about how, PlayStation was a 3D first console and that the controller wasn't really meeting the time period. And Sega kind of half-assed 3D and was like, we also have 3D games over on our, but that's not the Saturn's core strength. The Saturn's core strength is and will always be, not like people are still making games for it, well, maybe homebrew, but is 2D gaming. And when you talk about the superior 2D gaming performance, if you're a fighting game fan, this is the controller that you're going to want to use if you don't have access to like an arcade joystick. If you just want to be able to pass around something, this is that. If you want to be playing an intense action game that's 2D, this is your controller. This is the finest D-pad out of any first-party D-pad that has ever been released in the history of ever. And even if you look at the way that the curvature of the shoulder buttons go, that it actually like sits your index fingers into the shoulder buttons. It's incredible. Every single button, I think, is concave on the face. So like every single button is responsive and is easy to get to, and you can tell the difference in them readily available, unlike the 6-button controller on the Genesis, which is still a great controller. Like you can physically tell the difference between X, Y, and Z because they are smaller buttons and they're less of a priority over A, B, and C. And again, they're at an angle to more, align with how your thumb would move. I just think, and it's ergonomically just comfortable. It's so comfortable, which is one of the reasons I love the GameCube controller. It just fits in your hand. Now, does it work great for 3D gaming? No, not at all. I'm not even going to sit here and pretend otherwise. Like, I'd be a fool to try to suggest that. But when I talk about like a controller that I just think is just all about gaming and only gaming, and it really gets in touch with the core audience it was really trying to attract, which again is why the GameCube is so high for me. It's the Sega Saturn controller. This is the hardcore gamer's controller. This is the person who loves gaming's controller. This is the person who will play anything unabashedly, even when trends are looking them in the face and telling them they should play something else controller. The Sega Saturn is just, and to me, that's what's the Sega Saturn is kind of emblematic of me too for now, but that controller is also very emblematic of that to me as well, especially as someone who loves playing old classic games. So that's why it's number one for me. I think that it really is kind of the apex of what Nintendo started with the NES and what Sega learned and also unlearned with the Dreamcast. One more dunk on the Dreamcast.
No, I'll go really quick on mine. Like I said, if I would have re-ranked, I would have put the Dreamcast underneath the Sega Saturn. The reason it was so low for me is because I don't have a lot of experience with the Saturn, and also it kind of in the same vein as the PS2 argument for me. And I'm not saying it's valid. I think your points make a lot of sense, Chris. It just once again, this is all perception, not based off of any like enough experience. It's just a solid controller. Like it does what the Super Nintendo does for me. Like to me, the Super Nintendo was like 2D gaming perfected, but for you, it's the Saturn. So I still stand by putting it where I did. Like I still would have ranked it below like the N64 and other stuff, but I definitely still would have switched. Your impassioned speech on the Dreamcast has changed it. I would put that above the Duke, but below the Saturn. Anyway, that's I've said that 1,000 times over the course of this episode. It to me, where Sega Saturn sits on my ranking, even though it's all the way down at 13, that to me it's a solid good controller. What I've played of it has not blown me out of the water, but that doesn't mean it's bad. That means arguably that means it's a good controller because it's not standing out for one reason or another. But anyway, Mick, you were in the middle of it for all of us. You ranked it you ranked it much higher than I did.
Oh, the Sega Saturn, aka the Great What If. That's the thing that
true.
sucks, because you look at like the Saturn and it's unheralded largely, which is unfortunate because it is excellent. And then again, you just sort of look at what Sega did with the Dreamcast, and it's like, man, you guys went in the exact opposite direction that you should have gone in, and you ruined it. So yeah, that is one of the reasons why Sega Saturn was so high for me, because it's excellent and it is the greatest, I think, what if scenario in gaming, because it's like, man, if they would have just continued off of like the ideas that they had with the Saturn, keeping the controller design, the focus on games that they did, man, Sega might still be in it, but hey, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, I think we can. We're down to our last ones. At Mick,
we talk about the GOAT now. Is that what we're gonna do? We talk about the greatest of all time, the PlayStation 4.
Mick, yeah. So that is. Go ahead and say your number one, Mick.
The PlayStation 4,
and it is mine as well. So Mick, why don't you talk about the PlayStation 4 controller?
It's the GOAT. It's the GOAT. Because it's all a lot of the things that I said about the 360, the PlayStation 4 does that as well. Plug it right into a PC. The feel of it is again, we're not talking about PlayStation 5 because I think the 5 is actually better than the 4, but we're not talking about that. But of all the Sony design controllers, I think it feels the best. The weight is right, the curvature's right, the triggers feel good. The share button, I think, is super, super cool. Just you do something really cool, you can hit that share button, put it right out there. I really like that. The record feature's cool. It's great. I think it is absolutely the pinnacle of Sony's design.
Up until the ones we haven't ranked, obviously. We not touch PS5 and Xbox Series X, mainly because I haven't even played a Series X, so I can't rank it. But
yeah, but yeah, to me, it's the again, it was the pinnacle of Sony's design. They finally figured it all out. They fixed all the minor gripes and issues that I had, and they just expanded on it in a good way, because again, they've kept their classic look and design. They haven't really changed like their button layout or how things work on it, but they've just improved on it, and that's why I think it's number one.
Chris, I'll go next and I'll give you the final word on it.
Even though I ranked it the lowest of the three of us?
Yeah. Okay, fine. You go ahead.
Okay. Pretty much everything Mick said. I'm not going to have to elaborate much more on this. I really think, it has the perfect weight. It really, I think it perfected the ergonomics more. It's definitely an improvement from even the PS2. Definitely a PS3 in terms of how it feels and how much of a professional piece of equipment that you have in comparison to both. I think the touchpad is really fucking stupid though. But you don't have to use it in a lot of games. I don't like how it's an actual button either. I think that's dumb, and I don't care about the share button. But aside from that, and well, the D-pad, which is actually I think worse than the Xbox One D-pad and the Xbox Series D-pad. But I mean, what are you going to do? This is a fantastic controller. I like the shoulder buttons. I think the shoulder buttons are incredible. They feel incredibly natural. The face buttons are like they're just the right amount of clicky. They're definitely the best that PlayStation has ever done. The analog sticks are absolutely on point. Also the best that Sony has done up to this point, and just the general feel for their initial release as a controller, I think it just feels the best, most comfortable, and most professional of it. I just think a lot of the concepts are stupid. I'm not saying that like it inherently makes the controller better. I just think it makes it dumb and it's unnecessary. But I mean, if you're not using them, then what does it really matter? But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. That's why, I mean, I also ranked it pretty high. I had my number 4 because I just love the overall feel of it. It's just, I love the offset analog as opposed to how Sony does it. That's the biggest reason here.
for the offset analog on the Xbox stuff is definitely great. I agree with that. But for me, the reason I rank PS4 high is it's like, what if we took the PS2 and 3 controller but made it comfortable? Like I like the PS2 controller well enough. It's the ergonomics aren't bad, but PS4 just it fills your hand up so much better. Like you actually feel like you're gripping onto something as opposed to the PS2 controller, which or the PS2 and PS, especially the PS3 controller, which you don't, and it's heavier than them, so which also feels a lot nicer. I don't hate the touchpad. Actually, I actually kind of really like it in the games that I've played.
I
I
also really like it.
like because all the times I've played them, it's felt intuitive. Like it's always swipes and stuff like that. You just swipe to the left or swipe to the right. I think it's been a minute since I played Ghost of Tsushima, but I'm pretty sure that's how you change your stances, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you
Um,
swipe with them.
yeah, and it always just felt so intuitive because like your thumb's right there anyway, and it's like just an extra little button for you to use. I don't know, it always worked really well for me. Also, being able to press down on the touchpad as like your map screen, so like you had the share button, and then essentially your map screen was the touchpad, and then your start button was the start, or I guess the option is what they call it there. The option button was like your start button, but it I love the PS4 controller, man. I remember when the PS4 came out and I finally got my hands on the controller. I was blown away by it because I was expecting like I had seen pictures of it. I'm like, okay, it looks cool, but we'll see how it feels. And like, I liked the PS3 controller well enough, but like I said during the 360, I could not deny how good the 360 controller felt. And the PS4 finally was like, oh my God, this is like, what if Sony did controllers right? Like, Sony put as much effort into controllers as Xbox did. And in all honesty, like, the only reason PS4 gets a bump over Xbox One, to me, they're comparable. Like, there's on par with each other in terms of comfortability and all that stuff. But I like Sony's games more, so I put the PS4 above it. You know, like it's just to me, like if I was trying to be objective, I would actually put them on an even, like, you know, they're it's a stalemate. But if I have to put one an edge over the PS4 has the extra button from what I remember. I haven't played a Xbox One in a while, but it has the extra button with the touchpad, and whether you like it or not, it's an extra button, and I don't think they use it in bad or unintuitive ways for the most part. And then once again, that's a developer specific thing if the developer chooses to use it. But yeah, I love it, man. I love the PlayStation 4 controller. The PS4 was a system. It was one of those systems I deceptively played more of than I realized until after, you know, the Switch came out and then the PS5 came out, and then I looked at my PS4 library. I'm like, oh shit, I got like 40 games on this thing. Holy crap. When did this happen? So I love it. I love the controller. It's a phenomenal controller, and that's why I ranked it at my number one. All right. That's it. 19 rounds, 19 rankings over 3 hours. I mean, there's a chunk we have to edit out a little behind the scenes there. There's going to be some editing doing, but at time of recording, we're at over 3 hours into our recording session.
God
so
damn.
Thank you both guys for joining me on this one. I am going to read
Always
the
a
overall
pleasure.
ranking,
Absolutely.
which I know you both can see on the Google sheet here, but for the listeners, I'll read the overall ranking for everything. But yeah, seriously, guys, thank you so much. This was a lot of time to dedicate to something like this, so I appreciate you giving up over 3 hours of your time for this.
No, man, it was a pleasure. It was great to talk about some controllers, and I love controllers. I have way too many of them, so this is something I definitely had a great time doing. And thanks again.
Yeah, just to echo that same thing, you know, it's like controllers. It's our doorway into gaming, and also just, you know, a small thing, like it's very cool that when I play games now, I can hand my kid a controller that's not plugged into anything, and he can enjoy watching me play, thinking he's doing something. So that's
Yes.
another magical thing controllers give us.
I like it because my daughter, we didn't rank it, but the PS5, my daughter plays Astrobot a lot, and that is fun to see her just like the controllers have gotten to a point where even a 4-year-old is being able to pick things up and start figuring shit out. It's really cool. So before we wrap up, everyone, and before we do our shout outs and, you know, our plugs at the end, what was the overall ranking for all this? Well, once again, I did a point system for all this. The 19th ranked game got 1 point. The number one ranked game got 19 points, and then I would add it all together for where we each ranked it. The overall ranking going from bottom to top, Sega Master System with a total of 4 points.
Well deserved.
The Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons with 7 points. Then there's a big jump up with the Xbox Duke at 15 points. The Wiimote and Nunchuck came in at 16 with 17 points. That's kind of ironic. Oh, that's not ironic, but bizarre. 15 was PS1, the original PS1 controller with 20 points. At 14 was the Nintendo 64 with 21 points. At 13th, the Wii U gamepad, tied for 12th technically, was the TurboGrafx 16 and Wii U gamepad, both with 22 points apiece. So that counts as 13th and 12th slot. Which one comes out over the top? You can decide for yourself, listener. At number 11 was the Sega Dreamcast at 24, which probably, once again, would have been bumped down. Based off what I'm seeing here, maybe in between the N64 and the PS1. I'm not quite sure. I'd have to redo the math on that. PS3 coming in at number 10, starting the top 10 with PS3 with 28 points. At number 9, it's the NES with 32 points. At number 8, it's the Genesis with 34 points. At number 7, it's the PlayStation 2 with 38 points. At number 6, Sega Saturn at 40 points. Number 5, it's the Super Nintendo with 44. At number 4, it's the GameCube with 45. Then we have the Xbox One at the third place with 51 points. Xbox 360 in second place with 52 points. And just barely squeaking out number 1 was the PlayStation 4 with 54 total points. So the top 3 were really close. They were within 3 points of each other, 51, 52, and then 54. Because the fourth place one is 6 below that at 45. Like, that's crazy.
Not shocking. The great run of controllers within the past 2 generations, 2-3.
It's fun to see. But yeah, that will do it. That is the totally official ranking. That's clearly objective and not flawed in the slightest. Never. The Dreamcast is perfect.
Fuck you.
But let's wrap up this episode. Once again, Chris and Mick, thank you again for joining me. If you are to be found online, where can the good people find you online? What would you like to promote? Mick, we will start off with you.
So I am part of a group called Nerds Cant. We stream tabletop games. We stream, basically any and all nerdy content. Our streams actually start the beginning of February. We'll be doing 3 days a week. One of the things that I do is I host a show called Nerds Chat, which is basically me and a guest, or sometimes just me or whatever, just talking about whatever is going on in the nerdosphere, be it video games, comic books, tabletop, you name it, I'm probably going to talk about it. You can find me pretty much at Mick Arcade everywhere, except Instagram, which is where I am most active, where I am that Mick Arcade, because somebody has the plain Mick Arcade and it torments me to this day. But that's pretty much all I've got going on.
Chris, what about you?
Our general link is just linktr.ee/retro hangover. It's over at our link tree. We are a retro gaming podcast where me and my friend Shane talk about just a game every other week. And then every week in between that, we talk about our top 5 topics. That's decided by the community. And then every once in a while we have a crazy contest called the King of Games that Josh is on. He makes me angry. Every once
Not
in a while.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
I would say I'm the second. I'm the person who makes you the second most angry.
Yeah. Yes, I will say that. That's very accurate. But you can find us on all the things over at linktr.ee/retro hangover. Not really active on social media. I kind of don't like social media, so I don't like going there. But if you do want to talk about social media, where we are at, we're over at the Discord. That's the most That's the most frequent one where I interact with, and that's free to everybody. And you can also find that at the link tree. So yeah, hope to see you there, and I look forward to future conversations. Maybe you can swing on by and tell us about your favorite controllers as well. But with that being said, thanks again, Josh. Really appreciated the time that you gave me tonight to talk about some controllers, even though it's been like 3 hours and I'm going to crash out.
I was not. I knew this episode was going to go long. I did not expect it to go 3 hours. So, that's why. So it was funny because I sent you both a list of like, these are the controllers we're going to rank, and then I'm like, oh shit, I forgot the Dreamcast. Which, egg on me.
Might not have been a bad idea.
Might not have been a bad idea. But then also, Chris, you mentioned right beforehand, what about the TurboGrafx? I'm like, oh fuck. So now we were at 17 and now we're at 19. And like, I can only imagine adding in, Series X and PS5 and, with the fucking Virtual Boy count. I don't know.
That's a great controller, by the way.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
We already went so goddamn long. Anyway, for myself, you can follow me on social media at stillloadingpodcast.com over on Blue Sky, at stillloadingpod on Instagram and Facebook, as well as Twitch, where I stream whenever the hell I am able to. Lately, I've been playing a lot of James Bond games and a lot of Hitman games, though by the time this comes out, I don't know what I'll be playing because it's going to be a few weeks. Anyway, you can find out whenever I go live at stillloadingpod over there. If you want to support the show, the easiest way to do that is give it a 5-star rating or review on whichever podcasting app you use. It helps more people find the show, and it pleases the algorithm gods. And if you, what? Sorry,
the best gods,
the only gods we care about on this podcast. But no, if you want to support the show another way, there is a Patreon, patreon.com/stillloadingpod. For only $1 a month, you get all the episodes a little bit earlier with better audio quality, as well as access to patron voting rights, which unfortunately for y'all, if you sign up now, you're going to have to wait for another poll because the backlog month poll will have just ended by the time this episode comes out. But I do quarterly polls, and you can help guide the direction of the show. For $3 a month, you get everything at the previous year, plus patron shoutouts, which you heard at the beginning of this episode. For $4 a month, you get all the previous 2 tiers, plus 2 mini bonus episodes every single month, which there are over 100 of now. And for $5 a month, you get everything. All the previous tiers, all the bonus content, bonus minis, and voting, and shout outs and all that good stuff, plus access to my monthly movie podcast, which right now, at the time this episode comes out, is called Still Muppeting, the only Muppet movie podcast where me and a bunch of guests play the music, light the lights, and we talk about some Muppets on Still Muppeting tonight. And that's all over at the $5 level. But that's it. That is all the time I have for you on this episode of Still Loading. Thank you all so much for listening. Oh, and before I thank Chris and Mick one more time, huge thank you once again to Bitmap Books for sending us a review copy of this book. If you want to check it out, I will have a link in the show notes that you can check out the book over at bitmapbooks.com. And yeah, go check out the stuff they do. They make good shit. And you can find a link to the book in the show notes. But yeah, Chris and Mick, thank you once again for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with all that said, listeners, I will see you all next time.